good. But we adapt really good and we play really good. This is my feeling. But of course, when it's close, we have to defend and we take the point. That is only I can say.
Guardiola was fuming about Eric Dyer's 90th minute penalty. Replays show Nico Gonzalez got the ball before he connected with Dyer's head. Over in North London, Mikel Arteta's thrilled to have the phenomenal Martin Odegaard back to his best.
That level of threat especially, not only with the passes, but the way he was taking the ball, carrying the ball, making runs and arriving in really dangerous areas. I think he put 3 people through today to score a goal. He should have scored a goal as well.
Gyökeres should have scored a goal. He missed a few chances in Arsenal's 2-0 win over Olympiacos, but Arteta says his work rate is impacting games. Eddie Howe hopes Newcastle's 4-0 destruction of Union Saint-Gilloise helps his team kick on at home.
Because we've been waiting for a performance like that, really, where, as I said, we looked like we could score at any moment. It wasn't, a perfect performance. There's things we can improve, but it was a big step in the right direction.
More on this at talkSPORT.com. And Russell Martin says all the criticism doesn't bother him, but kids sticking their fingers up at him does.
I had a lot of fans come up to me in the city and around the place saying actually that to ignore it, that they feel it's gone quite some way over the normal criticism, but I've appreciated that.
Rangers go to Sturm Graz in the Europa League tonight. On TalkSPORT we've got Feyenoord versus Villa, while Forest versus Midtjylland is live over on TalkSPORT too.
TalkSPORT News.
The Health Secretary's launched an urgent review into vetting foreign doctors, and refugees will have to earn the right to bring their family to Britain under new government plans. More from the news team at past.
TalkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With our wide range of services on offer, including tyres, MOTs, servicing and brakes, you can drive away happy every time.
In the north and west today, it's getting wetter and wetter. Drier in the southeast with some sunshine before turning cloudy this afternoon, and increasingly windy everywhere with gales possible in the west before Storm Amy arrives tomorrow.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So, as Voltamada opens his Champions League account, was it a good night for those idiots at Newcastle? And at what point will we confidently say Manchester City are back? Meanwhile, who should have priority at next summer's World Cup? The players and match day going fans or TV audiences? Also today, will anything less than winning the Conference League constitute falling short for Palace? Have Rangers fans become obsessed with hating on Russell Martin? Why hasn't Birmingham owner Tom Wagner got the EFL memo? Can you have your cake and eat it in rugby? And from midday, we talk boxing with top commentator Adam Smith. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we're live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So I'm sitting having our little planning meeting with producers Luke and Joe, and then I see you hovering around 9 o'clock this morning. I'm thinking, what is he doing? And then
5 to 9, I might correct you.
5 to 9. And then I took a stroll, and I see you in some glass box addressing quite a sizable group of people. It was obviously going down well because somebody turned and had a sign saying, "Save me." I mean, how did you get on through
That was me.
That was you.
The head of talkSPORT asked me to go on a panel. It's a panel about the ever-increasing age range of presenters and the representation of Dignitas in it. So I was debating it on your behalf there, talking about euthanasia and how it's not for Jim. No, he's got many years to go.
Quite a sizable gathering. You did well. You've been up early.
Yeah, it's Sean Custis and Alison Rudd, two very good journalists, talking about football and all the different aspects of it for a sorted audience of advertisers and media buyers and News UK people.
Well done. Well done indeed.
So they'll never ask me to do it again after that performance.
I'm sure you did well. You went down well from what I gather. I was at Covent Garden last night at a little cinema.
Were you doing a mime or something? Were you doing an act?
I wasn't doing an act.
On a monocycle?
I was in front of the movie Kenny Dalglish, His Journey.
Oh, was you?
It was extremely Asif Kapadia, he of the Maradona movie in the past, Senna. It was very, very good contributions from Graham Souness, Alan Hansen, Sir Paul McCartney.
As you would expect from those guys.
It's quite an absorbing movie, Simon. Yeah, and Kenny narrates it.
Does that mean it's understandable?
It's understandable. It is absorbing, I think, is a word. It's engrossing. And of course,
his is an engrossing career. I mean, if you look at the things that he's been through, look at the achievements that he's had, look at going from Scotland's biggest club at the time, Celtic, into Liverpool taking over from Kevin Keegan, look at the achievements, look at managing Liverpool, look at the things that he had to preside over, the tragedy of Hillsborough and other things. Look at the fact he moved over to Blackburn, then to Newcastle.
Yes.
He's a fascinating character and a very nice man, Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah. Kenny, if you're listening this
and
morning,
a real talent.
It was quite a movie, and everyone very moved by it. So I think that's coming out next month. They'll be able to see it. Kenny Dalglish, his own journey.
Did Souness manage to talk about Kenny, or did he talk about himself during it?
A little bit about himself, mostly about himself, but a bit about Kenny.
Yeah.
Wins for Arsenal and Newcastle in the Champions League last night. Manchester City are pegged back in Monaco. I wonder, and I said it in the introduction, was it a good night for those English idiots, Newcastle? And of course, that's not me saying that. One or two loudmouths at Bayern Munich said it, because it was Newcastle who stumped up £69 million for one Mr. Voltemada, who got on the score sheet again last night. This was Eddie Howe off the back of what was a convincing win in Belgium.
Yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction in that respect. It's a difficult one to answer. Do the players feel at ease with the level? I would say that they should. And there's no reason why we can't win games at this level, home and away, because I think we have the players and the squad to do that. But then you have to do it to maybe believe it yourself. I don't know. I'm already there in this respect. I know we can do it. But this will help us. I think this will help the group. And as I said, when you look at the league table, there's 2 games in, but there'll be a better feeling when you see it, and we're in around teams that have been on this stage for a number of years. So now we just move on to our next Premier League game, and of course this goes away for a little bit, but we'll be looking ahead to it with excitement.
Good man, Eddie. I know it was only Union Saint-Gauloise, but 4-0 is a good scoreline in the Champions League, no matter who you're playing against. And on the score sheet, Voltemada. It would be good, Simon, if Voltemada could make his fellow German, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, eat his words somewhat.
Depends if you think that what Karl-Heinz Rummenigge has any relevance to what you're doing. I mean, he's entitled to opinion. He has some substance behind his opinion in terms of the fact that we are paying premiums for players in this country. We are selling players to Germany, like Jadon Sancho, for 2 and 6, buying them back for a fraction. Buying them back at massively inflated prices, and then not getting any outcomes from them. Yeah. So they have credence behind what they're saying. And if he wants to call people idiotic, and he wants to suggest that there's a premium and an idiot tax for British clubs to pay, that's his gift. I mean, the guy will go on and score goals, or he won't score goals, and no one will be potentially losing sleep, besides perhaps us being able to weaponise the conversation and say, aha, you proved a point. Yeah. The player might feel a little aggrieved, but I don't think it was an attack on the player. I think it was an attack on the Premier League and its profligacy.
Well, it was. You paid how much for Voltemada? Really? I mean, it was a bit of an attack on Voltemada. They're questioning whether or not he was worth 69 million. And in the eyes of Bayern Munich, he wasn't.
But fine. But I mean, Bayern Munich wanted to buy him. So with respect to the player, they're not questioning his ability. Yeah. They're questioning the price tag. Yeah. And they're questioning the lunacy of it. And they probably would question a whole raft of other price tags as well. They probably wouldn't just do that particular price tag. If they were looking at, if you asked Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, because he wasn't in for XY, he wasn't in for Jack Grealish, right? But if you ask Karl-Heinz Rummenigge whether Jack Grealish was a £100 million footballer, he might turn around and say, that's a madness deal. It's an idiot tax paid by idiot English football clubs. Yeah. It happens to be a player that they were in for, that they've had their noses put out of joint because he's chosen to go to Newcastle.
I just think the more goals that Voltemada scores, the more of a 2 fingers it is to people like Rummenigge and the other people at Bayern who slagged off the move and slagged off the amount paid.
Depends who you're running your football club for. Are you running your football club for Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and his approval, or are you running it for yourselves? You bought a player, you paid a price, You might have buyer's regret if the kid keeps on scoring goals. I don't suppose Newcastle wanted to pay £69 million. I don't suppose anybody wants to pay any more than they absolutely have to. The only people that seem to want to pay more than they have to is Todd Bowley when he goes and buys players from Benfica. If he can pay more for Enzo Fernandez, he'll do it if he can.
Yeah.
But I think that Karl-Heinz Rummenigge is perfectly entitled to his opinion. He's perfectly entitled to suggest that there is a premium paid by English football clubs that are all too keen to pay it. But it is steeped in a debate about how these leagues are constructed, how much money the Premier League has got. The Germans are disadvantaged by the 50+1 rule, but advantaged by the huge revenues that clubs like Bayern Munich get from their commercial deals, which only Bayern Munich can get. So really and truly, what do you want? Do you want what Bayern Munich have got? Well, do you want what the Bundesliga have got, which is one team winning their league in the last 20 years or 13 years? One other team besides Bayern Munich? Or do you want to be able to say, well, maybe we've got to spend a bit more money, but we've got a more competitive league. We've got more teams that can win our league. We've got more winners of the... How many German teams have won the Champions League? How many British teams have won the Champions League?
Good point.
There's your answer.
Yeah. Now, listen, despite an out of control at times, Manchester City let their lead slip in Monaco with a last-minute VAR intervention. And we see plenty of them. At what point, Simon, do you think we'll confidently say, yeah, Manchester City are back? They're back.
Well, that has to be framed in at what point do I care when they're back? Because I'm not a Manchester City fan. So I don't care. I don't care for Man City dominating the Premier League.
Well, just last season you said they'll be back. They'll be back. You kept on saying
it. Against the argument that they
Stop catastrophising was the phrase.
Exactly. Against the argument of saying that City are never going to return. Of course they're going to return. They're going to return to their pomp. But do we want them? Do we want a side that dominates the Premier League? Do we want a side that to be honest with you, I don't like their brand of football. I think it's very skillful, but I don't like the possession-based football that all it is pass, 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 pass. I'm more of a Klopp admirer. I like the rock and roll football, which had you on the edge of your seats. That's just my personal flavour. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with Man City. So look, they're going through a transition. Everything that Man City doing because of what's been gone before is going to be evaluated against a higher standard. It's like forever saying, for Liverpool must have been saying forever until they won the Premier League in 2019, are we ever going to be back? But in the meantime, they were busily winning European competitions and FA Cups and League Cups.
Yeah.
I should think that we want the Premier League to be keeping going as competitive as it is. We want to see Arsenal. We want to see Arsenal win the league this year. That's what we want to do. Primarily because Liverpool won it last year, Man City have won it previous years, Arsenal haven't won it for 20 years. And we want to see more football clubs being able to compete. We want to see a removal of PSR so we can go back to the idea that Premier Leagues can be, and teams in them can be advanced based upon the ambition of their owner.
But what happens with the removal of PSR? Everybody does whatever they want.
Well, there's
and spends whatever they want.
But what is the purpose of PSR? I mean, football clubs don't go bust, owners do. So what's the purpose of PSR? What's the purpose of turning a wonderful league that's decided, that's dusted?
So you want the days of Abramovich back?
I want the days of football teams like Newcastle and Aston Villa being given a fair crack.
I thought you wanted sustainability.
What's unsustainable about the kind of ownership models we've got in the Premier League? How many clubs have gone bust? What's unsustainable about Newcastle? What's unsustainable about Aston Villa? Anything unsustainable about that? The sustainability side of things is nonsense.
But you just said you don't want Premier League dominance.
No, I don't. What do you mean? I don't want one team dominating.
You don't want the richest to spend whatever they want.
No, I didn't say that. I said I don't want Man City. I don't want one team dominating. What I would like to see is a whole raft of teams being able to be competitive and raise the whole standard. In a high tide, all boats fly higher, don't they? Or float higher.
Yeah, but Simon, if you get rid of PSR, watch Manchester City go. And they'll spend, like, to quote you, or Newcastle, Saudi-owned Newcastle, they'll spend like drunken sailors.
And watch Newcastle and watch Aston Villa. And Liverpool can spend quite well as well because their turnover. I'm not suggesting you have the Wild West. You have some degree of governance, but not this restrictive practice. This is absurd.
Arsenal found their way past Olympiacos. Became a bit more nervy, I think, than it needed to, and I think most Arsenal fans will agree with that. It didn't score their second goal until the 91st minute. The English teams, do you think they still look the most certain sides to go deep again in this tournament?
Well, they should, shouldn't they?
I mean, it's early doors yet.
Well, do I think an English team will win it? Possibly not. I mean, going deep in depends what you want a tournament to be. I mean, we've got a Champions League, which is badged up as a Champions League, made up of everybody else besides champions. So it's a participation tournament. So what is it you want? Do you want to see your team go deep into it, or do you want to see them win it? I look at the teams that are going to win rather than the teams that are going to participate. But we should, given the economics and given the quality of player and the quality of team, we should be going out of the qualifying stage, one way or another, whether it's in the first 8 places or via the other 16 playoff places that get divided into 8 sides, we should have a very strong representation, and there shouldn't really be an English club that isn't in the knockout stages of the Champions League.
I'd agree with that. If you put your My England hat on and you've really got it off, which English club do you think will go furthest?
Well, it's difficult to answer that because Liverpool at this moment in time would be my suggested outcome, because I think Arsenal might find themselves caught up in a Premier League battle that they really think they can win this year and really start to believe they can win. I'm not suggesting they haven't believed it before, but really feel they can win it this year, really know it in their bones, like previous Arsenal sides may have done, and believe they're going to win it. And that might come at the expense of the Champions League, whereas Liverpool might find they have a different foray into Europe, albeit they've just lost to Galatasaray. But we've seen how that plays out. We saw PSG stutter and fart their way through the qualifying stages and go and win the competition. And what did they get? They got a draw against Liverpool. And Liverpool dominated the table format, the ladder format, and ended up getting knocked out by PSG, who went on to win it. I think it's a difficult tournament to call, but I would expect to see a very strong representation from English clubs. I'd like to say British, but you lot aren't featuring in any of these.
How kind. You've got to remember, you're flying to Scotland with me later.
Yes.
And by God, are you going to get a hot reception tomorrow at lunch? I wonder, with Newcastle fans, do you feel there's been a post-Isak hangover for the football club? And in Voltemada, do you trust? Is he the boy that's going to take you deep into this Champions League competition? You might want to give us a call if you fancy. 03717 223344. I spoke to the owner of Sheffield Wednesday just before we came on air. Didn't have much to tell me and sort of put me on to somebody else. We'll have a bit of news on that later on. Not of the good sort, I'm afraid. Jim White and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Good morning, everybody. Thursday, October the 2nd. Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. A round of matches tonight in the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. Rangers, of course, in the Europa League. But have Rangers fans become obsessed with hating on Russell Martin? It would appear so, or certainly a section of them. We're going to hear from Russell Martin as they go into their match tonight against Sturm Graz. But it really has gone too far, in the opinion of many. I'll get Simon's take on that shortly. Want Simon's take on this morning. Who should have priority at next summer's World Cup? The players and matchday going fans or TV audiences? The reason I asked Simon is that FIFA is examining World Cup kickoff to requests and high summer temperatures over in that part of the world due to concerns over the heat, which were seen, remember, at the Club World Cup. England may end up playing games that start after midnight UK time. So European broadcasters, we know, would want afternoon kickoffs for top European teams, such as England. But the heat is going to be an issue when it comes to that. So, Simon, it seems whatever route FIFA take, is it going to damage the spectacle one way or the other?
Well, the spectacle will be damaged to some extent by the quality of the fare. And so if the quality of the fare comes into debate, which is that i.e. playing at certain times, then you have to factor that in. So the players and the product are being considered. In the end, it'll be the live audiences that generates probably 25% of the revenue being associated with the tournament. So about 3 billion worth of ticket sales going as part of the 11 billion budget that I think Trump promised FIFA that they were going to generate from this. And they'll go where the broadcast revenues are. And that's what they'll do. And that's the challenge. And of course, you've got 5 hours behind, for the players kicking off at midnight on the East Coast. It's going to be no problem because for them it's normally 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And they'll be on US time by that time. But of course, from a broadcasting point of view, if you're doing it in the West Coast, if you're doing it in Mexico, you've got 8-hour time differences. You've got all challenges, and that was always going to be the case. So it comes down to what has to give. And I suspect they'll try and find a balance based upon the biggest audiences and where the revenue generators are, and try and meet their expectations. And it'll be quite a complicated process because, broadcasting to countries that don't generate huge advertising revenue, but fitting at a time that suits them is not going to be on top of the list of things to do when it comes against other nations that have huge audiences, whose advertising revenue and huge engagement with the tournament, which most countries will, but there's a scale of certain countries that will generate more bucks for the broadcaster.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a balancing act. The heat is going to be an issue out there for the players. There's no doubt.
The players,
so the players, and to a certain extent the supporters who are out there, they will want later kickoffs.
What did they do in 1970? What did they do when they played in the 1970 World Cup in Mexico? I wonder what the times were then and how they participated, because we do live in an age where all of a sudden everything is player welfare. And back in the 70s, or when it wasn't, everything was player welfare and people were pleased to play for their country and we didn't have to listen to a list of things that they didn't like, you might find that actually people just played when they were told to play.
Yeah,
rather than this being what it is now.
A lot more broadcasters around, though, are there not?
Yeah, that's I'm talking about one aspect of it, which is player welfare and the argument of player welfare. So if we put that box to one side and say, okay, we've covered that, and now we look at the broadcaster welfare and determine what the broadcasters think is best.
Yeah,
and we all know that there's the battle now about when broadcasting football matches should be. We've lost all the traditionality besides the 3 o'clock watershed in our domestic football. Everything from the FA Cup to Monday Night Football has been changed, and a lot of people will say that's good, and some people will say it's not.
Right.
And that means that the broadcasters are calling the shots because they're the paymasters, and they'll call the shots in this instance as well.
Yeah.
To a degree.
When it comes to ticket prices, have we got a much clearer idea of World Cup pricing? Are they fair for the greatest show on earth? Group matches in the United States have been priced as follows. Category 4, and you're up in the gods. So the players are going to be tiny little figures in the distance, between $60 and $105. The top price could range between $410 and $600 for the best seats.
What it costs to watch a World Cup match.
A group match, is that value for money, do you think, in a group match?
I think it's overpriced in the same way that I think that people paid $750 to go and watch the Ryder Cup on a daily basis is overpriced. You pay what the market, you charge what the market will bear, and then you argue about the morality of it through people like ourselves and try and create some outcome that's a little bit fairer. They want to generate, they're targeting $3 billion worth of ticket revenue, and they've got 7 million tickets to sell. So go work that out. At an average ticket, and that's factoring in corporate hospitality as well. But if you average that as a ticket, it's about $450 a ticket.
Yeah.
That's the average price. So then work out how many Category 4s there are going to be, how many Category 3s there are going to be. There won't be that many, because they have decided, and the audience and the market will pay it, and we can sit here and ruminate about whether we like it or we don't. But the bottom line is, going to a World Cup, watching the greatest show on earth, the biggest sporting tournament on the planet, comes at a premium.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You wonder though, Simon, the World Cup final itself, say England get to it.
Yes.
The World Cup final itself, you might well just be advised to advertise it as corporate only when you think of it. The cheapest price, $2,000 for a seat. The most expensive, almost $7,000.
Yeah, dollars. Yeah, so
dollars.
Yeah, you're talking about 1,500 quid for the cheapest price.
But of course, this is subject to surge pricing as well. So if England get the demand would shoot right up.
This is
as with the price.
This is a tournament that's going to be watched by 2 billion people around the world, and you're going to have the rarefied air of 70,000 people in a stadium.
Yeah.
So 70,000 people out of 7 billion people on the planet are going to have the privilege of being able to pay a premium to watch the greatest show on earth, and it is the greatest show on earth. Forget about the Olympics being that argument. Athletics has been superseded by football. Mm-hmm. Everything's been eaten by football. So 70,000 people are going to pay a premium to watch something that 7 million people, or certainly 5 million football fans around the world, would bite their arm off to be able to watch.
Do you think so? The privilege, as you describe it appears here is only for the privileged.
Yeah. So what you're saying then? We should have a socialistic attitude towards
this. This is a working class game. Football.
Oh, okay then. So why are we paying footballers 250 grand a week then?
At the end of the day, you think it's fair, and that people will pay this price.
I don't think it's fair. I think it's capitalism gone mad. I think it's exploitation. I think it's commodification of a proposition that should be about other things. But that ship has sailed, and if it will get what you wish for, is an empty stadium. What you'll get is an oversubscribed, full stadium but for every ticket sold, 100 people wanting to buy one.
Okay.
And what do you do about that? If you're a commercial man, what do? You go, well, I'm going to turn back the opportunity of commercialisation because my morality says that XYZ person needs to have a ticket for 25 quid.
I'm just saying, you're saying that those who want to be there will be there even at those prices.
Well, don't you think so?
Because demand is such.
Well, don't you think so?
It's looking that way. But certainly,
when was the last time we saw an empty World Cup final?
I'm looking for middle ground here, and I'm not really seeing it. So if England get to the final, say they get to the final,
get Andy
at the
Burnham
MetLife,
involved. He says everything that everyone likes.
$2,000 for the cheapest seat. Would you pay it? Would you pay it? $7,000 for the most expensive, dollars albeit. But would you pay that? Give us a call on that. Certainly, group matches. You want to go and see England, maybe Scotland.
That'd be silly.
Maybe Wales.
You've paid to
maybe the Republic of Ireland.
Paid to go and see it.
$620 for the best seat in the house at one of these group matches. Would you pay it? The cheapest seat, $100. Would you pay it? 03717 223344. Does it come down to it that no matter what, you want to be there next summer and you're happy to pay whatever comes your way? 03717 223344 81089. If England are in the final, the cheapest seat, $2,000. The most expensive, $7,000. Would you pay it?
Have you ever seen an unhappier man of the match? Erling Haaland scored twice but says Man City need more energy and weren't good enough in the 2-2 draw at Monaco. Pep Guardiola's fuming as well after Eric Dyer's 90th minute penalty.
Are you able to give us your opinion on...
No.
It looked like the whole bench were exceptionally angry about it.
Nothing to say to the Spanish referees.
Nico Gonzalez did get the ball first, but also connected with Eric Dyer's head as he tried to clear a cross. A much happier night in North London, but Mikel Arteta's had to defend Victor Gyökeres missing more chances.
I think overall his performance was exceptional. Again, his work rate was really good, and yeah, we want him to be scoring goals, but if he doesn't do that, at least to do everything else that he's doing for the team, because he's helping the team a lot.
Martin Odegaard looked back to his best in Arsenal's 2-0 win over Olympiacos. Meanwhile, Eddie Howe says Newcastle have been waiting for a performance like that. He hopes their 4-0 dismantling of Union Saint-Gilloise helps his team kick on in the Premier League. Elsewhere, on loan Man United striker Rasmus Højlund scored twice for Napoli in their 2-1 win over Sporting. And in the Championship, Coventry are up to second after their 4-0 thrashing of Millwall at the Den. Oxford United's goalless draw at QPR was enough to move them out the bottom three, and promotion-chasing West Brom won at Norwich. Tonight on talkSPORT, we've got commentary of Villa's Europa League trip to Feyenoord. Forest versus Midtjylland is on talkSPORT too.
Good morning, everybody. Many of you calling in about to tell us whether or not you'd pay the prices that you are going to be asked to pay to watch a World Cup match with England, with Scotland or whoever in the stadium next summer. And the prices are interesting. And when it boils down to it, before we go to the callers, Simon, when you bear this in mind, Russia 2018, tickets for the final, the most expensive, $1,100 US. More recently, Qatar, the most expensive ticket for the final, Argentina, of course, up against the French, $1,600. This time around, the MetLife over in the US, the most expensive ticket for the final, $7,000. So how's that for inflation? How is that for inflation? That is a big ask, Simon, is it not? 7K. The most expensive ticket.
Yeah, of course.
But you think many people will pay it?
I think that people have paid far more than that. And when it comes to the actual event and you talk about surge pricing, you'll probably find they'll be even bigger than that.
Is it fair?
Well, it depends what you think fair is.
Well, the rise that I've just read, is that curve fair to the football fan? As recently as Qatar, $1,600, the most expensive. This time, at the moment, the most expensive is $6,730, rising to $7,000.
Well, if you're a football fan of a particular federation that has very little investment and very little infrastructure and is trying to progress as a nation, and you're seeing that FIFA are generating huge money, and given the fact they're a not-for-profit organisation that redistributes it to organisations around the world, then you'll be looking at something that's going to facilitate better outcomes for your football, aren't you?
Yeah.
So if it was for the lining of the pocket for shareholders and for people that owned football clubs domestically, then you can make that argument. And you can still make the argument now because of the opaque nature of FIFA and how much perhaps Infantino gets rewarded and recompensed for being the General Secretary of FIFA or whatever he is. The fact of the matter is that the game is supposed to redistribute money to its grassroots. So the money that the fans are paying goes back to producing a better product for them in the longer game.
Well, now that we know, and it's early days, but for the first time we know the kind of price range, as I described, a group match, the cheapest ticket, $100, the most expensive ticket, $620. But that will rise because we're talking about surge pricing. And at the moment, prices for the World Cup final, the cheapest ticket, $2,000 US, rising to almost $7,000 US. Is there nonetheless this morning an appetite amongst fans to pay those kind of prices to watch your nation in action at next summer's World Cup? Dave is a big Manchester United fan. David, I take it, what are you? Are you an England fan too?
Yeah, Jim, but there's absolutely no way I'd be paying that, even if I could afford it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just having your pants down, and that's only the cherry on the top of the cake. I mean, let's face it, when the World Cup comes around, the flights are going to be horrendously priced. It's not going to be normal prices. Your hotel rooms are going to be horrendously priced.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be absolutely through the roof. So you're not just paying £2,000 or £7,000 for a ticket. You're paying the absolute earth. It's crazy. And at the end of the day, you're probably not going to get your own team to the final. So you're buying these tickets in the hope that they'll get there.
Yeah.
It's just madness, absolute madness.
But Dave, would you go to a category 1, 2, 3, or 4 price for the group matches? Would you take yourself out there for one group match and pay as little as $100 but sit in the gods?
Yes, Jim, but again, would you want to go there just for one group match? If there's a chance of you getting to the final, I don't think I would, so I just don't think I'd go. I'd watch it on TV, and I wouldn't even mind watching it in the early hours of the morning. I did it in Mexico, and I loved it. But I know it's hard what with work, I do know that, but I just think they're taking the mick out of us. But then again, it's the way the world's going, Jim, isn't it? Nothing's going to change.
Good call, mate. Thank you for that. Mohammed is a Cardiff fan, maybe a Wales fan as well. I'm not sure. Mohammed, good morning.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah.
What's your view of the prices that we're being told you're going to have to pay out in the US?
The prices, it's just the world the way it's going. Nothing is fair. So the prices are always going to be expensive. Like the caller just said, a lot of normal working class people obviously won't go. But people would go because people are obsessed. Football's tribal. People are obsessed with being at these events, especially in the social media generation.
Yeah.
They want to take a picture and say they were there. People want to see the best players. So no matter, even if it is like inflation and people are finding hard to pay for stuff, people will somehow find that money and they would definitely go.
Would you, Mohammed? Are you an England fan, a Wales fan, what?
I'm a Wales fan, and I'm telling you, I wouldn't pay them ridiculous prices. Definitely not. I would watch it on TV like the next caller would. But a lot of Wales fans, because Wales don't always go, they've only been to one World Cup in 58 years, like in Qatar. Even Qatar was expensive, but a lot of Wales fans did go there.
Okay.
So people will find the money, and people will definitely go because they want to take the picture and say they were there.
They were there. Mohammed, thank you for that, but you'll stay at home. Nick, Liverpool and England fan, presumably. Would you go at the prices we've mentioned?
Good morning. I wouldn't go to watch England, but I paid $20,000 to watch Liverpool.
We're losing your line. We'll come back to you. Let's go to Ben. Ben, would you go?
Yeah, I would, but I wouldn't pay those prices. But I support England away, so I'm a member of the ESTC. You get caps for home and away games that you get, and you are rewarded by the association when you go to these tournaments. So I went to the final of the Euros, and I paid about €200 for that final because I've earned enough caps over the period, and therefore I get fans first tickets.
I see. So you're going to go, are you, next summer?
Yeah, 100%.
So how will that translate for you then in World Cup terms? Given the ticket pricing we've just told you, what will that look like for you, given your loyalty, given your patronage, given your consistent support, you get rewards for it? How will your ticket pricing manifest itself?
Well, we haven't had the actual prices yet, Simon, but it's usually 50% or less than your average fan pays, which is fair enough. You know, you get rewarded for your loyalty.
Absolutely right.
That is a good scheme, isn't it, Ben? That is a good scheme, and you're quite right to buy into it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And just going back to what your previous caller said, you actually can guarantee you get follow your team tickets. So you can pay to follow your team for as long as they stay in the tournament. And you can do that off the bat when you register through the FA.
So what you're telling me is because of the scheme you've mentioned, Ben, say England go all the way and you get to the final, you wouldn't pay anywhere near $2,000 for one of the cheapest seats, or you wouldn't go anywhere near $7,000 for the most expensive because of the scheme you're telling us about.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay, Ben, thanks for that. Thanks for the call.
And that's
interesting.
Well, that's a reward for consistent patronage rather than being a tourist that turns up for the big games. I mean, if you've got 5 million football fans around the world, we're talking about 80,000 fans being available into a World Cup final, which is 0.00016 of the population who can actually go and watch the game. So who are we offended on behalf of? And when we talk about football fans that want to go and watch their country and be rewarded for it, these fans that have travelled all around the world, that have travelled repeatedly and endlessly to far-flung corners of the earth when they've got World Cup qualifiers that no one wants to go and watch. Everybody wants to go and watch the World Cup final. So it has to be that people that have invested in supporting, and we have a wonderful digital format now, and we have a wonderful televisual world that can broadcast these games to us in far more and equally as compelling fashion now as potentially going live.
I don't think we're being offended in anyone's behalf, but the fact of the matter remains, 600 is the most expensive for a group
6,000,
match.
yeah, 600, yeah. But you're talking...
And 7,000 for the final.
But it's 5 billion football fans in the world.
You wonder what way it's going, though, because it'll be surge pricing.
So what? So what? There's 50,000, 60,000 fans that can go to a game. There's 5 billion that would like to. And so what? We price it on a perspective that everyone can afford.
But you said it's capitalism gone mad earlier on.
I think football's capitalism gone mad. Of course it is. What parallel universe can you suggest that paying £150 million for a footballer is somehow reasonable, and a footballer that decides he doesn't want to play?
But last time around, Qatar for the final $1,600.
And why did Qatar have a World Cup?
This time around, 7,000.
Sure. And what was the promise? The FIFA's debate was about the reality of the World Cup was awarded to the Americans for one reason and one reason only, because the Americans, one of the reasons, predominant reasons, was the American guaranteed 11 billion. And where did they think 11 billion was coming from? And where's that 11 billion going? If that 11 billion, this is where everyone's argument falls down, because everybody wants better football. They want better football in their own country, better infrastructure, better facilities, better players, better grassroots. Where do you think that money comes from? So if FIFA are doing their job and redistributing, and that's a different question if they are or they aren't, but they are supposedly redistributing this money to regenerate opportunities around the world and to reinvest back into football. So in the end, it goes round back in a circle, and people that are paying to watch something, which they're paying to watch, and they're getting premium, the World Cup final. How many people, when you work it out over the history of time, how many people, there's been, 30 World Cup finals? Mm-hmm. Not even that, probably.
Probably not even that.
20 World Cup finals. Right. 20 World Cup finals. So there's been, 6.4 million people out of the population of the entire planet over the best part of 80 years have been able to watch a World Cup final, and you don't think they should have scarcity attached to it at a price point that befits it?
Let's hear from Raj, Manchester United fan. Would you go, Raj, at these prices?
I don't think so, essentially because I can't afford it, to be honest with you. And yeah, my view is that I think that the world's elites that tend to run these things, the bodies that organise the events, I think they want their own kind there, if you like. So they don't want Mr. Joe Plumber, they don't want Mr. Dave the Builder. I think they want their own class there, essentially. And I agree with Simon that yes, the market kind of prices itself, and people will pay, accordingly, and prices will be set accordingly, whatever people are willing to pay. But yeah, I think it's an elitist thing as well, to be honest.
Raj, thank you for that. Elitism, classism.
No, I don't think it's anything to do with it. I think it's opportunism. People being.
Well, there's Raj saying it's beyond him. And many others of his.
But that doesn't make it elitist, because plenty of people have come from backgrounds that aren't elite, that have made lots of money, that will go to this. I wouldn't go to it. I wouldn't pay those prices because I don't think it's worth it. And I'd quite enjoy watching it. I would quite watch it on television. I don't have a problem with not being at a live event. But if I wanted to go to a live event, be it a Wimbledon final or the Super Bowl or it be the World Cup final, I would expect to pay, whichever class I apparently came from, the prerequisite price.
Where's it going? Give me the price of a World Cup final ticket in about 20 years.
Who knows? I mean, it depends what you think. $6,500.
Is there a ceiling?
Well, $6,500 now compared to what $6,500 might be worth 20 years ago. It'd be interesting to see what the inflation is like between the first World Cup in America in 1994 and the World Cup now, and see what they've done with it in that respect. But I understand the statistics we just gave, which are enormous exponential growth, only because the market will stand it.
So it's all about demand.
In the end, isn't everything?
Ben, I'll finish with you very briefly. Tottenham fan, but presumably England fan. Would you pay to watch England in the group matches? Or he's just gone, has he? Is he with us? We can go to David. Finish it off for me, David. Crystal Palace fan, Mr. Jordan's former club, and England. Would you pay the prices, David?
Yeah, well, just a quick example. Last game of the season, seasoning holder Palace went to Liverpool and watched them lift their trophy, and there was 20,000 supporters that couldn't get in the ground. We was offered a max of £800 for 2 tickets, so £1,600, me and my son. And what I'm just going to say is that if you say, right, the World Cup final, we're going to price $80 to get the working class man there, they would just sell the tickets on to whatever the market demand is, the people that want to go and watch it. And that happens at every single ground in the UK, where you get away supporters sitting in the home bits where the home fans get enough money to sell their ticket for one game to cover the whole of their season ticket. You sit at Palace, see Man United's ball, we'll sit with Palace.
Right.
They shouldn't do it. The clubs don't stop it, or they can't stop it.
Or they can stop it.
Exactly the same in the World Cup. They can't. Well, they can stop it, but they decide not to.
If England get to the final, would you pay £2,000 for the cheapest seat?
Absolutely not, because as the guy said earlier on, it's not just getting there. It's like Palace in Europe at the moment. It's not just the price of the ticket. The fares have gone for £23 each way. Now they're going for like £400 each way.
Sure.
And when you've got a young lad as well,
yeah.
You've got off time, off score. I'd love to have gone. But you're talking about £1,000 plus each.
Of course. David, listen, thanks for the call. Thanks to all the callers. Come the time, people will pay it. Simple as.
It is, when you hear that, it is wrong. And when you hear, and I've got a young son, and when you hear about, he wants to go and take his son to go and see a football match, and that person's never been in Europe before, and a young lad, and you hear that when he's gone from £23 to £400, it is outrageous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is unfair
Pretty
and unjustified
crazy.
in what's happening to the world, but unfortunately it is what it is.
We'll keep an eye on it. We're going up to 10 to 11.
Business Briefing on talkSPORT with Tesco Mobile for Business. Got a side hustle baking bread? Improve your take-home dough with business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big three networks. For verification, see tescomobile.com/business.
And we're going to talk about one of the big football stories with Tesco Mobile for Business, and it centres on, redistribution. This is a topic that never really goes away. What am I talking about? The top flight, the Premier League, the wealth from it being redistributed down the pyramid. It's something that Rick Parry, the EFL chairman, came in and spoke about with us on this very show just last year.
It's about, do we believe in the pyramid? Do we think the pyramid matters? Do we believe it's brilliant that Luton rise to be the 51st club in the Premier League via the National League? And for us, it's all about sporting jeopardy without financial catastrophe. And if you look at the first season of the Premier League, which isn't that long ago in our lifetimes, 92, 93, the turnover of the Premier League was 45 million, which seems astonishing now in terms of the numbers.
Yeah.
But the turnover of the EFL was 34 million. There was a gap of 11 million. And the EFL's turnover was 75% of the Premier League's level. The gap, have a guess? Well, I'll tell you, it's 3.3 billion. And the EFL's turnover is 6% of the Premier League's.
So that was Rick Parry when he joined us.
He must have been broadcasting revenues. He doesn't think so.
I think so. But you have to think, Simon, the Birmingham City co-owner Tom Wagner, who I've met, impressive fellow. He hasn't got the memo on this, the EFL memo. Is he right? Is it time for the pyramid to stop feeding off Premier League scraps? Wagner says, I think the top clubs in English football have to be protected at all costs. We can't take too much from the top clubs to support the pyramid. And he goes on to say, we spend our time and energy thinking about how we grow the overall revenue streams and interest in English football. If we're able to do that, everybody benefits more than just distributing an existing set of revenue streams in a different way. And Wagner was asked about the EFL entertaining Amazon or Netflix. And I know this is the route that you have been talking about going down. I think that there's enormous opportunity for the EFL to create a broader distribution platform. And the reason I feel that way is because the quality of football is great. The storylines are great. There's a lot to root for. It's a giant underdog mentality, which at least in the US is massively appealing. So he's saying, head in the Amazon Netflix route, and that's your more effective way of achieving redistribution.
Well, he is right in lots of ways. I mean, he's right because probably he thinks Birmingham are going to become one of the big clubs and land in the Premier League, and he wants to make sure that the value of that league is retained. He's also right in the fact that it's incumbent upon the EFL not to keep on trying to ride off the coattails of the Premier League and to create and plough its own trough. It has a very valuable proposition. It has a bigger audience than the Premier League has. If you look at the average match day, there might be a lot more games played, but notwithstanding it, there's more fans watching the EFL than there is the Premier League. I'm talking about live attendances. And there is a raft of opportunities. I never understood. It's changed recently why the broadcasting opportunity was always bells and whistles for the Premier League and an old geezer with a rattle for the Football League. I felt that was underwhelming and undermining the proposition because it's a very excited and dynamic set of leagues.
Yeah.
If you rip, first of all, they're not going to get the kind of distributions they think they're going to get. I mean, all the Bolsheviks that sit in League Two that think they're going to drive through some communistic change to redistribution of finances in football are just imbeciles anyway, and have always been.
Communistic?
They're just nonsense. If you listen to some of the League Two club mentalities, I had the misfortune of sitting in meetings and listening to it. And the idea is that ultimately you don't pull the top down, you pull the bottom up. And you don't pull the bottom up by pulling the top down, because everybody knows that there is a flip side to the politics of drip down economics. We know that drip down economics actually works to the detriment of football because it's driven up salaries and transfer fees. The flip side of it is that English football is probably in its rudest health. We keep on hearing about the catastrophes of English football. English football clubs do not go bust, right? The owners do. And the next owner comes along and picks it up, and there's a challenge along the way, and there's jeopardy, and there's some financial reconstruction that has to go on. But most of the time, it isn't football clubs that go bust, it's the owner that goes bust. I can speak to that myself, personally, and you can look at it across the pyramids and look at the reality of it is. If you start messing with the Premier League, if you start taking distribution, I'll tell you what you're going to do. As day follows nights, the ownership model is changing. You will drive these big English football clubs in geography, not in ownership, out of the Premier League and into a European Super League quicker than you can snap your fingers, because they will not be harnessed.
So
they will not.
Is Tom Wagner right in this?
Of course he's right. It's a grown-up set of thinking. What he's doing is he's not wanting World War III between the Premier League and the EFL. My view is that there's going to be a Premier League 2, that there's going to be a set of clubs that are going to be protected by perhaps demotion and relegation between those two leagues, and the EFL is going to be cast asunder. Because I don't think football...
Cast asunder?
...was got to row its own boat.
So a Premier League 2 becomes what the Championship is?
With better distributions between the two leagues, which makes the 40 clubs sustainable in terms of economics, rather than just ownership investment all the time being
and
the
what
reason.
happens to League 1 and 2?
They're going to have to find their way through. Unfortunately, it might be a terrible thing to suggest, but it's going to have to cut its cloth accordingly. It's going to have to realise where it is on the food chain, and unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast.
So we're still going in this Super League direction?
I think
with a Premier League 1 and 2.
I don't think it ever left. I think the challenge is if we can keep it on these isles rather than allow it to be allow it to be turned into a European situation where we really do lose the heritage. Because if you think that these owners are going to wed themselves to something that restricts them and turns their opportunity to dust on the back of turning it into an opportunity for 70 to
talk sport.
Business briefing on talkSPORT with Tesco Mobile for Business. Got a side hustle baking bread? Improve your take-home dough with business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big 3 networks. For verification, see tescomobile.com/business.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 11:02, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Pep Guardiola does not agree with Erling Haaland's blunt assessment that Man City just weren't good enough in Monaco.
Listen, football you have to win as a result. If you analyze how was the game was in many things really good, step by step, and we'll do better.
Meanwhile, Guardiola has nothing to say to the Spanish referees after Eric Dyer's late penalty equaliser. Mikel Arteta says Victor Gyökeres is impacting games despite him not scoring for 3 weeks. Here's broadcaster and Arsenal fan Harry Symeou.
Against Newcastle and against Olympiacos, his all-round game was much better. He looks sharper, he looks stronger, he's getting in behind more, he's more involved in the games. He looked like a bit of a passenger in the first few weeks.
Nick Woltemade goes from strength to strength. He's got 3 in 4 now and reminds former Newcastle assistant John Carver of a Jack Charlton signing.
When I first seen him, before I actually seen him playing, I thought he reminded me of George Reilly. You remember George Reilly, I'm sure. Because I was a young player with George when he came to Newcastle, and George was decent with his feet as well.
Now we're told Spurs are close to finalising a new deal with Rodrigo Bentancur. He's started 8 out of 10 games under Thomas Frank. Over at Rangers, Russell Martin says criticism is water off a duck's back, but there is one thing that upsets him.
And I see the kids standing next to their dads and stuff and sticking their fingers up at me and swearing at me, and I don't feel particularly sad about it for me. I just feel like for the cycle to go on.
Rangers go to Sturm Graz in the Europa League tonight. We've got Villa and Forest's games live on the network. And in Rugby League, Wigan Warriors versus Lee Leopards will go ahead tomorrow. Leopards owner Derek Beaumont had threatened to boycott the playoff semi over their ticket allocation.
Talk Sport with QuickFit. Come rain or shine, we've got your car's inbuilt safety tech covered with expertly trained technicians across the country, so you can drive away happy every time.
4 people have been injured after a car was driven at a crowd in a suspected knife attack outside a synagogue in Manchester on the holiest Jewish day. More from the news team at past. And the weather in the north and west today will get wetter and wetter, drier in the southeast with some morning sunshine, turning cloudy this afternoon, and increasingly windy with gales possible before Storm Amy arrives tomorrow.
Good morning, everybody. Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT. Thursday being Thursday, at 12 noon onwards, we shall talk boxing in the company of Spencer Oliver. In the meantime, it's a huge night of European action tonight. A night of firsts in many ways. Nottingham Forest first home European game in 30 years, while Crystal Palace embark on their first European journey since the 1998 Intertoto Cup.
Trabzonspor or something. Trabzonspor.
Trabzonspor.
Well, you know, it's like, you got the general gist of it.
Is
it a night of first? You're buying dinner tonight, is it?
It is indeed. Yeah. A night of first. Simon and I are in Glasgow, and I'm buying dinner.
I'm not getting on a train either.
Celtic host Sporting Braga. Villa, we're flying up. Celtic host Sporting Braga. Villa are at Feyenoord. That's live in talkSPORT. Rangers travel to Sturm Graz. I'll get to that. Nottingham Forest hosts Midtjylland. That's live in talkSPORT too. Elsewhere, in the Conference League, Crystal Palace face Dynamo Kiev in Poland. That's live in talkSPORT too. And after this, Palace, incidentally, have got games against Larnaca, Alkmaar, Strasbourg, Shelbourne, and the Finnish club
Strasbourg. Liam Rosenior.
Liam Rosenior at Strasbourg. Thank you for this information that you're piping in with.
I'm trying to help along.
And you do more than that. Here's the thing about Crystal Palace, though, Simon. As multi-club promotion and demotion, ironically, put Crystal Palace in a better place to secure a European prize come May. And I think you're of the belief that
of course
it just might. Because they were demoted, of course, because of that man Textor and multi-club ownership.
No.
And they've jumped out of the Europa League into the Europa Conference League. Well, what other reason was it?
Because the incumbent ownership of Crystal Palace didn't do their job properly and sold shares to somebody that then compromised their position and took his money.
Involved John Textor.
And they took his money. So whose job was it to make sure that the club wasn't prejudiced? Their job.
It was all of their job.
It was their job. You can't sell somebody something and then make responsible for what they bought. You've sold it to them, so you're responsible for it. But the fact of the matter is that Palace have got a better opportunity, have always had a better opportunity for having 2 seasons in Europe. Because if they were to win this European Conference League, which is not easy, but not beyond the wit of them, they just beat the Premier League champions, for God's sake.
Yeah, true.
They can win this competition if they really apply themselves. Well, where will they be then? Europa League and 2 seasons in Europe.
So is Oliver Glasner taking expectations so high that anything less will in some way feel like falling short? Glasner has spoken pre-match.
Nothing what we did with Eintracht Frankfurt when we won the Europa League will help us tomorrow. It's a new team, it's a different opposition, it's a different stadium, a different environment. But what will help us or can help us is how the team is performing, how the players are feeling on the pitch, how we approach the game. And this, I think, we are very confident. We want to show tomorrow.
Are we at the stage,
So now it's not good enough now they've got to win it.
Well, I was just about to ask you that. Now that they find themselves in the Europa Conference League, an expectation under Glasner is running so high.
Yeah.
Is not winning the thing falling short in some ways?
Not really, no. And they've got a very good chance and they should do very well in it. But to suggest that it's a given that they're going to win it is unfair. It's a recharacterisation, a repackaging of the opportunity. You saw them play in the I think the playoff games that they played. It wasn't just a straightforward situation where they played against the lowly side and they managed to get past it, struggle past this side to get through. European football, irrespective of what you think about the fact it's 11 players on a football field, has differences towards it.
Yeah.
I think they'll do well. I mean, will it keep Glasner in a job? Maybe. I doubt it. Will it convince Guéry to stand another contract? Probably not. But will Palace fans enjoy the opportunity of seeing Palace play in a European competition, a real one, knowing that they were cheated out of the real one they should have been in, and other clubs got to stand on the shoulders of giants? So we hope they don't prosper too much.
Did you not say Forest should win the Europa League, though?
I said that Forest are in a good position to do so, and I think that Marinakis believes they can do so.
So why shouldn't we ask the same about Crystal Palace in the Conference League?
Because that's a good argument that I can't think of an answer to. I was trying to box my way out of that. No, actually, by the same logic, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I just think that Forest are perhaps better set up than Palace in terms of some of the players they've got. But saying that, no, same logic. But I do think that the competition, I've regained my poise now, I do think the competition in the Europa League is stronger than the competition in the Conference League.
Okay, thank you for that. You and I are flying to Glasgow later on tonight.
Yes.
Chris Boyd, charity lunch tomorrow lunchtime. We'll gauge the temperature up there once we get there regarding Russell Martin and his ongoing situation at Rangers. Russell Martin is a man very much under pressure at the football club. Rangers picked up a last-minute win at Livingston at the weekend, and it saw bizarre scenes as celebrations from the travelling Rangers fans for that winning goal quickly turned to anti-Martin chants, and it wasn't pleasant. Russell Martin's been talking about it.
Yeah, and the only other thing I find sad is when, and I see the kids standing next to their dads and stuff and sticking their fingers up at me and swearing at me, and I don't feel particularly sad about it for me. I just feel like for the cycle to go on and to understand. And like, I'm here, we've made mistakes, there's been some tough moments, but we're giving everything we've got to improve the club, as is Kevin, as is Patrick, as are the owners. And I think when you have so much change, I've said it before, it's not an excuse, but I think it's pretty evident it might take some time. So the criticism aimed at me is fine. It is what it is. I've had a lot of fans come up to me in the city and around the place saying actually that to ignore it, that they feel it's gone quite some way over the normal criticism. But I've appreciated that. I've really appreciated that. But the rest of it is what it is.
It seems, Simon, and we'll find out more when we're up there, that it's become an almost inevitable cycle of abuse now that he's facing. Have Rangers fans become obsessed with hating on Russell Martin? It seems they have, or a section of them.
I don't think, section, exactly right. I don't think you should categorise Rangers fans as a homogenous group that just do one thing. He has to be a bit stronger in his press conferences. He has to acknowledge the fact that he has to win football matches. I have to win football matches, and I'm going to win football matches, and I'm going to win them in short order. And if I don't, I understand the consequences of it. But I am going to win football matches, and I will make the team better. And they are going to be a strident force in Scotland. That's what's got to come out of his mouth, not observing on the fact that a 12-year-old kid is sticking two fingers up at him. Unfortunately, there will always be people that behave in a fashion. No, it's not good. It's never been good.
Classless.
It's not. Well, fine, but well, come on. If we look at what gets sung on football terraces over the history of football, there's been classlessness aspects of it.
No, but wait a
since the
minute,
get-go.
Sam. This was after an away win at the weekend.
Sure.
They're at Livingston. They get an away win. They're celebrating one moment. Brilliant. Winning goal. Then the next thing, right. But where's Russell Martin?
But the toxicity has been seeded in now, and it's been placed in, and I'm not having a go at the media, but the media have been talking about the pressure that he's under. He has to win football matches. And if he doesn't win football matches, then he loses his job. And it's as simple as that. Now, if Russell had started this season...
He won a match.
Sure. But he's allowed it to get away from them. They've had 4 Scottish Premier League football matches where they've drawn and lost games. And that shouldn't have been the case against the opposition. I understand he's making a change. I've been defending him, and I want people to give him an opportunity to run or fail in equal measure without people forecasting one or the other. Right? And I want the owners to be courageous and see what they saw in him and stay with it. And if they can't see it anymore, or they've been sold a pup, then bin him. If he isn't what they thought he was, but don't lose your nerve, lads. If you saw something in the fella, then go the course. But he's got to get his team winning. He's got to get this. This is not an option. He has allowed the team to drift into a situation where it's drawn a game, and he's allowed this puerile, offensive behaviour to be seeded in a section of the Rangers fans. And now, whatever he does, he's never going to get it back from them.
But how does the ownership rationalise this? Even when he wins, he gets it in the net.
Well, then it becomes a different dynamic. If he wins and he keeps on winning and they're still doing it, the Rangers fans will turn on themselves. Because they'll see that there's a bias there, an unfair bias, and you'll see it change. But the fact is, Russell's the architect of his own downfall. The team haven't won football matches. You cannot go up to Rangers, forecast a new era by making it worse than the previous one. You can't do it. You can't. You don't have the luxury. That's like King Canute saying, I'm going to say to the Rangers fans that you have to be patient. The Rangers just have to win games until I've got the formation right. They're not going to tolerate it. Russell knows that. So his focus and energy has to be about, if he's going to go, he might as well go hard or go home. He might as well go into press conferences, balls out and go, I'm going to win football matches. And if I don't, I'll suffer the consequences. In the meantime, pack it in and give me a bit of support. What's going to lose?
Yeah.
What can he lose?
Yeah. End of.
And then people say, well, he's got some about him.
Yeah, he's shown his cojones there. Are you one of the many Rangers fans, and there are many of you, who have become obsessed with hating on Russell Martin? Were you one of the ones who booed and screamed abuse at him from the stadium at Livingston to the bus on Sunday, even after Rangers had won the match? And even if they win tonight in Austria against Sturm Graz, will you continue to hate on Russell Martin? I mean, we're saying here, give the guy a chance. Surely. We're only just into October. Give us a call, 03717 223344. Big night of European action. Rangers heading out to face Sturm Graz in the Europa League round 1 in the Mercure Arena tonight. But Rangers having their problems at the moment under Russell Martin. 9-point gap between them and Hearts in the league at the moment. Rangers in 8th position, not a position that they are accustomed to, and the Rangers boss Russell Martin, who is very much under the cosh, has been saying how saddened he is by some of the personal abuse he's been getting from even kids of fathers who are attending football matches. Has it gone too far? Before we take some calls, and there are many, 03717 223344. Simon, if you had this man Andrew Kavanagh in the 49ers who have taken over the club, and you're thinking, our guy's under pressure here, what are you saying to Russell Martin?
Depends if I still believe in him. If I still believe that he has the characteristics that either I or my delegate, in this instance maybe Patrick Stewart, decided was the components. Listen, it's not my job as the owner of the football club to make it easier for Russell Martin. It's Russell Martin's job to make it bloody easier for me.
And you got win games, Russell.
And you've got to win games. And, I would like him to be stronger in press conferences, but at the end of the day, the strength comes from winning football matches, not from being able to push back against indolent journalists, fan TV, or fans inside a stadium. It's winning football matches and drawing games at the beginning of the season and creating this narrative and allowing it to be seeded is in part your own fault. So if I was in the situation where I was his boss, I would be doing one or two things: believing in him and reinforcing him and giving him confidence and giving him some back.
Have Rangers fans, have many of them now become so obsessed with hating on Russell Martin that has been their sole vision for the time being? Scott is a big Rangers fan. Are you one of them, Scott? Are you one of the haters?
Hello?
Good morning, Scott. Yes.
Oh, can you hear us, aye?
Yes, indeed.
Aye, well, what it is, Jim, we've seen this before, season after season. We've got a manager in who simply has failed upwards. He failed at Southampton. He got them relegated last year and he managed to get the Rangers job. At least with Michael Beale last year or the year before in Clermont, you could see the style of football they were trying to play. You can't see it with Russell Martin.
So is the level of abuse appropriate?
In my opinion, fans who pay their money, I go week in, week out. That was £30 I paid last week to go watch Livingston. I wasn't at the game, but I bought the ticket anyway, and I've just paid another £42 yesterday for the home game against Roma. I'm entitled to my opinion when I've got a season ticket. Fair enough, some it might be over the line, but chance of removing Martin, that's up to the fans. They deserve to voice their opinion.
But even when he wins, Scott?
But Jim, it's not just the winning, and everything about Rangers is winning, and you know that. But see when you're having to rely on a last-minute goal for a substitute right-back to come on and win a game against Livingston, it's simply not good enough.
OK, Scott, listen, thanks for the call. Here's Kev, who's another big Rangers fan. Kev, where do you stand on this? Have many of the fans now become obsessed with hating on Martin?
How are you doing, guys? You all right?
Good, thank you.
Good. I don't think it's an obsession. I think that's a little bit of an extreme use of the word in there. I mean, I totally get it's prevalent, but just to go back and touch on some of the things I spoke to you last week, the hatred is coming from the fact he's gaslighting us with his analysis of games. He turned around last Thursday after the Genk game and he was asked about the flanks being utilised and nothing was done about that, and he denied it even happened. He's coming out and saying we're playing well in games. We're not playing well in games, we're playing terribly. The stats on Sunday show how bad things actually were, and he's sitting coming out with it wasn't that bad, it wasn't that bad. It clearly was that bad. This press conference is just nightmarish because, again, it's the gaslighting, it's the denial of things happening in game situation. To go back to the main subject, the argument about the abuse, like Scott just said, yeah, he pays his money, that's fine. Some of the abuse, like the kids giving the fingers, swaying, things like that, that is a little bit questionable or even possibly highly questionable, because when it sort of crosses the line of personal, it's a little bit different from professional. Because my abuse to Martin is professional abuse based on what I'm seeing in the park and his comments.
So, Kev, before you leave us, what should the 49ers do?
Well, like Simon, I pointed at Simon last week, they contradicted themselves in the first instance of communication with the fans and took over. They said the new manager will have nothing to do with Rangers, brand new start, and the man played for us. But given the level of vitriol from the fans and what's happening on the park, and again, nobody's got a divine right to win games. Nobody does, no matter how good or bad you are. Just because we're Rangers and we're the biggest club in Scotland doesn't mean we've got the divine right to win games.
Okay.
We should be better than this. There's
All
no
right.
substance, there's no style, there's no clue. He's got to go.
Kev, thanks for the call. Graham's a big Rangers fan. I think, Graham, you think Simon was wrong with what he said. What do you mean?
Well, for me, with living in Leeds, most of my friends follow Leeds United, the same owners as our club now, Jim. It starts at the top. They have not done their due diligence in picking the correct manager for what we need. And for me, we've got Paul Le Guen in the last 20 years, Mark Warburton and Michael Beale. This guy is the number 4 in that list. That is where it starts. They have not listened to the fans when they've come in. They've not done the due diligence, and we're in a mess. We spent reasonable money on players that look better than what we had, and we're in a total mess. I was indifferent to the manager we have at the start. Now we need to have him out. He's clueless. It's almost up there with the chap who was backing Saddam Hussein saying, oh, we got rid of all the tanks and we shot down all the planes.
Comical
That's
alley.
what his press conferences are like. That's the one. You got it. That's exactly what his press conferences are like. It's a joke. I'd rather have Ted Lasso in charge than this bloke.
What happens if they win tonight, Graham?
Well, I don't think anything changes, Jim. I don't think anything changes. And unfortunately, it has to go. The problem we've got is, and I think this is potentially the crux of the matter, is if he does go, who wants to take the job? And I think that is probably the problem we've had with our owners taking over. They probably maybe didn't want Martin, but who else is there out there? And that's my argument against people who really are vehemently against him. I don't want him, Jim. I'm putting my hand up there. However, the problem we've got is, who do we get in place?
Well,
we're in a mess.
There are many.
But you don't want him on the basis of 10 games. I'm not disputing your version of events, but what I can say is he got a Southampton team out of the Championship in over the top of Leeds when Leeds were in the division the previous season. His only failing, really, has been the 10 games he had in the Premier League where he wouldn't change his style, and the perception now of his management at Rangers. That's the only failing. He's been an upward trajectory from MK Dons to Swansea into Southampton. He dragged Southampton out of the Championship. Leeds couldn't get out with a bigger budget, better set of players, couldn't get out. He got Southampton out. So his only failings is a Premier League season, beginning of the season at Southampton, which got worse after he left, and 7 or 8 games at Leeds, at Rangers, and that's what you're going to say is a failure for.
Graham, listen, thanks for your time. We'll hear from Brian. Brian, if Rangers win tonight, will you still hate on Russell Martin?
I think, morning to both of you, I think the choice of words is a bit inappropriate in terms of hating. Football's about results, and I think the problem we've got, as your previous caller has just said, you've got Tony Bloom, who's came in at Hearts and invested £10 million. He's gave Derek McInnes the managerial job, and they're sat at top of the Scottish Premiership. Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers group have came into Rangers. There's been player trading. We've spent £30 million. And somehow a team that was substandard last season has actually got worse this season. In addition to that, there's the continued poor interviews, I must say, from Russell Martin, where it's almost, he's gone from saying, oh, well, the fans didn't want me. There's always something to blame other than himself. There's a bit of a lack of accountability. And whilst I understand what Simon's saying about people need to be given time for the project, etc., fans of football aren't stupid. It's about the eye test. It's about what you see when the game kicks off, and the football has been abysmal.
So who goes in? If Russell Martin does depart anytime soon, who's the man?
Well, the problem you've got is because we've had a complete regime change, obviously Kevin Thelwell's came in as sporting director. You know, the news comes out yesterday, he's given his son a job as the chief scout. So far, I wouldn't trust Patrick Stewart and the board to make the right decision, because obviously there'll be the usual calls to bring Gerrard back, which I wouldn't do. Whether Derek McInnes so early into the project would do it. The answer to your honest question is right now, I honestly don't know, because it's the people that's making the decisions that I would be worried about making the correct decision.
Okay, Brian, some points there that we'll dwell upon, and thanks for your call. Thanks for your time, all the callers, of course, who have phoned in. And obviously, you're speaking from the heart. Seems unsalvageable in the eyes of many.
Yeah, and I think he's right. I mean, the last caller about who's making the appointments, I'm not overwhelmed with Kevin Thurwell as a sporting director. So if you've got the blind leading the deaf, you might find yourself in a challenge. But I still find myself inclined to suggest that maybe, just maybe, that Russell Martin needs to have a little bit more time, not much more, a little bit more time, to see if he can get a tune out of this particular situation. And if he can't, then you move on and you change it somewhere else. But you've also got to remember that this Rangers situation isn't the same as it's been before. Rangers aren't what they were once before. They've been massively diminished 10 years ago by being taken out of the Scottish Premier League. They've rebuilt themselves back. All the list of managers that you give have been given about Warburton and people like that.
Yeah.
All managers that, with respect to them, and I like Mark, wouldn't have managed Rangers if Rangers hadn't have been demoted from the SPL and booted down and rebuilt themselves back up again.
Yeah. So Rangers go in tonight against Sturm Graz. And my God, Russell Martin needs a win. It's 11:30.
Have you ever seen an unhappier man of the match? Erling Haaland scored twice, but says Man City need more energy and weren't good enough in the 2-2 draw at Monaco. Pep Guardiola's fuming as well after Eric Dyer's 90th minute penalty.
Are you able to give us your opinion on?
No.
It looked like the whole bench were exceptionally angry about it.
Nothing to say to the Spanish referees.
Nico Gonzalez did get the ball first, but also connected with Eric Dyer's head as he tried to clear a cross. A much happier night in North London, but Mikel Arteta's had to defend Victor Gyökeres missing more chances.
I think overall his performance was exceptional. Again, his work rate was really good, and yeah, we want him to be scoring goals, but if he doesn't do that, at least to do everything else that he's doing for the team, because he's helping the team a lot.
Martin Odegaard looked back to his best in Arsenal's 2-0 win over Olympiacos. Meanwhile, Eddie Howe says Newcastle have been waiting for a performance like that. He hopes their 4-0 dismantling of Union Saint-Gilloise helps his team kick on in the Premier League. Elsewhere, on loan, Man United striker Rasmus Højlund scored twice for Napoli in their 2-1 win over Sporting. And in the Championship, Coventry are up to second after their 4-0 thrashing of Millwall at the Den. Oxford United's goalless draw at QPR was enough to move them out the bottom three, and promotion-chasing West Brom won at Norwich. Tonight on talkSPORT, we've got commentary of Villa's Europa League trip to Feyenoord. Forest versus Midtjylland is on talkSPORT too.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
We're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the top games and the odds round and about them. Matt, before we do that, good morning to you. Let's look back at the Champions League games last night. What are you thinking?
Yeah, morning, fellas. Pretty good nights if you're a Newcastle or an Arsenal fan. Their team's winning to 0. Slightly disappointing if you're a Man City fan conceding a late penalty like that, and then a couple of heavyweights went at it in Barcelona last night, and PSG get the better of them. Because of that, PSG moved into favourites for the competition on their own, 11-2. Arsenal's still there at 6s. Barca the same price. Liverpool slight drift after their loss the other night to Galatasaray. But I really want to look at just a couple of strikers that have started the season absolutely on fire. Erling Haaland for club and country, 10 games, 17 goals. Harry Kane for club and country, 11 games, 18 goals. Lads, if you've got strikers who are that efficient in front of goal, I think Haaland had 7 touches in the first half last night. 2 of them were goals. Well, one of them was to start the game. 2 of them were goals. If you've got strikers like that, maybe Man City at 10s, Bayern Munich at 9s, maybe they're the value bets in this competition. What do you think? Do you think them boys can drag that?
I think it's a great point, Matt.
Yeah,
especially Kane and Bayern.
But it's fascinating. If you look at the strikers that have gone in the past, and you look at Gerd, De Bom and Muller, and you look at Marco van Basten, they never scored a goal a game. And they were top strikers. Michael Owen won the Ballon d'Or in 2001, I think it was, with 21 goals. Suddenly football has changed to such a level that it allows strikers to be scoring goals a game at the ratio that they are. I mean, playing in Germany and getting a goal a game is not the same as playing in the Premier League and getting a goal a game, but you're right, Matt, they're both phenomenal. And this Erling Haaland is a different animal. I mean, he irritates me probably because I bumped into him in Spain and he was rude to me. But if you look at his performance, on the field, he has turned into... They're trying to build him as a leader now. He looks more like a statesman playing for Man City. They've been talking about his leadership capabilities, and he looks more responsible, but his form is phenomenal, and his goal-scoring record is unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to tonight then, Matt? What are you thinking?
Yeah, we can do. It's interesting. We bring up Haaland's goal-scoring record. We'll put that against Celtic's. Erling Haaland has scored as many goals as Celtic in all competitions this year. Sean Martin gave me that, so I'm not trolling him, but he was the one who brought that stat to my attention. Celtic have scored 17 in 11 matches, and there's 4 0-0 draws in that. Despite that, they are favourites to beat Braga this evening. And then elsewhere, a couple of Premier League sides in action. Villa and Forest. You'll have to fact check me on this one, lads, because I wasn't alive for it, but I think it's the first time they've been in Europe at the same time since the 83-84 season, if those timelines check out. Villa favourites to get a Feyenoord, even though Feyenoord at top of the Dutch league, won 6, drawn 1. They lost to Braga last time in this competition. Obviously, Villa beat Bologna, and then Forest this evening. Ange needs a win, doesn't he? They're 11-25 to beat Midtjylland, who are 5-1 to come over here and win. Couple of managers who know how to win this competition. Gents, Emery's record is phenomenal in this competition with Seville. And I think he got there with Villarreal. Got to a final with Villarreal as well. Then of course Ange last season. I know if you're a Forest fan, and I know Simon has a bit of a bone to pick with Forest, but if you're a Forest fan, you'd have been gutted to miss out on Champions League football last year. But realistically, like, surely you go further in the Europa League. Surely you'll get to the business end of this competition. The odds seem to reflect that. Forest are right up there in the betting for the Europa League. I think this is the right European competition for them, despite heartbreaking missing out on Champions League.
Well, I mean, Forest want to go all the way, win it, and then they've got the Champions League.
Of course. I mean, I don't have an issue with Forest as a football club. I think they're a brilliant football club. I think their achievements under Brian Clough were absolutely mesmeric, and they were a mesmeric team. They've got into the Europa League. Not because they deserved it. They didn't get the Champions League because they didn't deserve it. The sporting merit. It's not about heartbreak. They didn't get in. They didn't qualify.
Yeah.
Now, whether they can win the Europa League is a different matter. Villa, to me, despite the fact I believe Marinakis has employed Postecoglou to win the Europa League, Villa are the ones that should be the predominant force amongst the English clubs because they've got know-how, they've got quality, they've got sustainability in their squad once they get themselves together. So Villa and Emery should be the ones that really come out of the pack and
I agree with that.
Contingent.
It's a very big night, actually, Matt, when you think of it. I mean, Ange needs a win at Forest against Mitchell, and Russell Martin, we were talking about, needs a win against Sturm Graz tonight. I mean, it's do or die for some of them.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Rangers are 2-1 to go away and win. We talked about it quite a lot, us three on the show, how much pressure Russell Martin's under. But I think Forest, Ange at Forest under pressure as well. I know they played well against Betis last time. I know they maybe should have seen it out. But these boys need to win. It's interesting what you say, Simon. Aston Villa are 5-1 favourites to win this competition. 3 points clear of Porto in second place at 8-1. Forest are right up there at 9. So there's a strong chance that the English representatives in this competition go fairly deep.
And Dynamo Kiev against Crystal Palace in the Conference League. That's live in talkSPORT 2. Where's your head with that?
Well, I suppose it's maybe where Simon's head is with it as a Crystal Palace fan. Like the pride you must have in that team, Simon. I know this time last year, Crystal Palace started slowly to the season. I remember giving prices on them for relegation. Since then, a couple of trophies and a huge night in Europe tonight. You're 8-13 to beat Kiev in Poland, but just how big is it for your?
It's a remarkable set of management from Glasner. I mean, no doubt about it. You've had real players taken out of your squad, real creativity taken away from you. You've not really had enormous amounts of investment put back into you, and yet you're achieving and raising the bar week in and week out. It'll be interesting to see it because this is a Ukrainian side playing in Poland. Will they get a full stadium? Is there enough support there to be able to be dominating the support base, or do they suffer from that because they're having to play their games in Poland?
I'm completely unsure. I'm sure Crystal Palace will take their full allocation, won't they? They'll a huge night for them. They'll all be there. I'm not sure about
would think so.
the home allocation.
Yeah.
Palace 4-1 favourites to go all the way, Simon. If that one interests you, but
through the qualifying stages and into the knockout?
No, to win the job lot.
Oh, to win the lot. Okay.
4-1 clear favourites at the top of the market, mate. So we think you'll go all the way.
Good stuff. Good luck to Palace tonight against Kiev in Poland. That was a look at BetMGM's odds. Visit betmgm.co.uk. Download the app. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Just before we came on air this morning, I mentioned this earlier, I had a word with Daifon Chansiri, the owner of Sheffield Wednesday. Told me he had nothing to tell me. And said that I should contact the football club if I was looking for any information. Of course, it's dire. It's a dire situation at Sheffield Wednesday at the moment. People not being paid. Sheffield Wednesday now face the prospect of a points deduction after once again failing to pay wages on time. That's the 5th time in 7 months. And the club have already been the subject of several EFL sanctions, which include transfer bans and embargo. So Chansiri put me on the club, Simon. We spoke to the club. We've nothing to tell you. We have no news. We know that Chansiri hasn't come to a game this season. He stayed away, reportedly in Thailand this morning. What gives in this, Simon? We've spoken about this before this week. But what is going to give? Because at the moment, stalemate. As far as the EFL are concerned, I understand they have no power to intervene or take control. There's a feeling that eventually a deal could well be done right at the 11th hour, whenever that 11th hour comes along. There's now talk of a point. There are reports suggesting the club could be docked as many as 15 points if the EFL was to take the harshest of actions. And if you're a fan of Sheffield Wednesday, this weekend you've got to look forward to a game against Coventry, who went to the Den down the road from here and beat Millwall 4-0 last night.
Sure, what happens in the short term is more pain for the Sheffield Wednesday fans until such a time as the owner is taken out one way or another by someone meeting his price or an administrative intervention. And the independent regulator will have the bandwidth to do it. The man's breaching his covenant as an owner. He will be held to be seen as not fit and proper persons by the independent regulator, and they'll take action. And that will probably extend beyond I'm pretty sure it does, extends beyond the remit of the EFL. And they'll be able to do things that the EFL aren't able to do. The EFL would want to do it. The EFL don't want to run a football club. It'd be interesting to see if they do take it off, if they force Chancery out and they put their own people in who they've got to do that at the independent regulator level. But it won't go on. It's not going to be allowed to turn into a situation where Sheffield Wednesday don't exist. And as I said earlier on, and I know it's a trite statement, but I'm going to make it all the same. Football clubs don't go bust, owners do. So in this instance, whilst he's not going bust, his ownership model is going bust. He isn't bankrolling the football club. He isn't acting in the best interest of the football club. He isn't preserving the well-being of the football club. He is doing everything but that, and there may be good reasons behind it. He may have run out of money, but he's going to have to accept that Sheffield Wednesday is no longer a going concern for him, and he's going to have to accept that a price, in the same way that the fellow at Reading accepted it, he's going to have to accept that sooner rather than later. Now, the challenge is, the question that you're asking is, when's that going to happen? Well, that no one knows that. How much sanctioning are they going to be subjected to? How much diminishing are they going to be subjected to? But the bigger picture is that the fella, in my view, will not be at the football club ad infinitum, and Sheffield Wednesday will go on. It's just about how much damage is done in the meantime, and that might well be they lose their championship spot because they get demoted, because they get points deducted, or if they're fortunate enough and people can find their way around the ridiculousness of what he may think he could be able to get because what he thinks he's put into it is what he wants back. Once he's got his head around that, and the independent regulator, they're going to use the independent regulator. The independent regulator is going to tell him, in my view, in no uncertain terms, I'm going to take this off you, and you're going to get nothing. So you either play ball, this is my view, right? Or I've got the legislative powers to make you and take it away from you.
Yeah.
So you better get your head round about what you can get rather than what you think you want.
I mean, he stonewalls me. I mean, not even...
He's got nothing to say, has he? What can he say?
Ounce of information in the conversation.
But he's got nothing to say.
But should the club suffer a points deduction here?
He owns the club. This is unfortunately, this is, I don't say this lightly, and I don't say it tritely. Jeopardy goes with football in all aspects, and to some extent is priced into the thinking. And people say, well, hang on, not financial. Yes, financial. Yes, it is as well. And ownership is part of it. And unfortunately, this owner has put you in a situation where once upon a time, he spent a lot of money, and it was unwisely spent, and achievements were little. And he has not communicated well with you. He doesn't communicate himself in a fashion that would be becoming to English football fans, because he tells them what he thinks of them and tells them that he ain't going to put any more money in unless they shut up and this sort of stuff. And all owners would quite like to say that at times, but there's no merit in saying it because you're not going to get anywhere with it. And at the same time, he's now not only not putting money in, which I understand why he might not want to, but he's not meeting the obligations.
No.
Now, whether he can or he can't, if he can't do it, then he better double quick find a solution to finding a solution to the going concern. But this is foreign ownership, Jim. They don't care. Why would they care? The only thing he cares about is how much money this owes him. And so would you if you were a businessman from another part of the world. You didn't buy it because you love Sheffield. You bought it because there was a commercial reason for buying Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, and now there's not.
No news from Texter?
Not about Sheffield Wednesday, no.
No. Okay. Stalemate at the moment at Sheffield Wednesday. We'll keep trying and we'll keep attempting to get more information for you. But the longer it goes on, the more worrying it gets. The club will live on, though. It's 10 to 12. interesting story developing in the world of rugby. Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend, Gregor, good guy, has joined Red Bull as a high-performance consultant and an advisor on global rugby strategy. I wonder, Simon, what Andrew McKenna thinks of that, talkSPORT's rugby commentator. Andrew joins us live. What do you think of it, Andrew? I mean, does rugby allow for a have-your-cake-and-eat-it kind of culture for coaches?
Morning, gentlemen. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? He's going to advise Red Bull, and important to stress at this point, it is Red Bull the company, not the Newcastle Red Bulls rugby team.
Okay. Yeah.
But, and there's a very big but here, Newcastle Red Bulls rugby team are the only rugby team that Red Bull have. So there's a bit of a moot point as to who he's actually working for on this one. So it's a bit of an odd one. He was heavily linked with a move to Newcastle as soon as this takeover was in the pipeline, and it's been in the pipeline for the last few months. Now, he recently signed a new contract with Scotland, did Gregor Townsend. So he's now under contract until after the next World Cup, which will be in the autumn of 2027. So it feels like a movement is happening here so that Gregor Townsend will probably leave the role with Scotland and move, you would imagine, to Newcastle at that period.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that there are spin-offs of a positive nature expected to come out of this, Andrew. The Times, for one, understands. The SRU, hopeful that Townsend's relationship with Red Bull Sporting Network could ultimately lead to commercial and performance benefits for Scottish rugby.
Well, absolutely. So what's happened
but how would that work?
Okay, so, well, first and foremost, Red Bull are paying the SRU for Gregor Townsend's time. He is going to do 30 days a year consultancy with them. So, first of all, it's not in and around international times, and it won't impact on the work he already does with the two Scottish sides, Glasgow and Edinburgh. So they're paying for his time, so they're getting some money through the door that way. And you could argue that if he was going to leave when his contract expires and he'd therefore leave for nothing in 2 years' time, then they're getting a bit of money for him. You almost see that as part of a payoff, if you like. If he goes earlier, then he might get bought out of the contract. They're also talking to a major company, a global company, which could lead to other commercial benefits. So there's that side of it. And then there's also suggestions that it might help some of the fringe Scotland players in the fact that if they're not getting regular time for Glasgow and Edinburgh, could they therefore be put on loan down to Newcastle and go and play in the Premiership in England? That's how it's being spun. I can kind of see that argument. I see it more as more of an exit strategy for Gregor Townsend on the grounds that when this was kind of announced, because there was an announcement from Newcastle Red Bulls the other day, they announced a massive restructuring of the management, and virtually everyone who's coming in has a connection to Gregor Townsend. Now, that's an incredible coincidence if Gregor Townsend is not going to go and work at the Newcastle Red Bulls in the near future.
How do you see it, Simon? The way Andrew describes it, it's interesting.
Well,
there are
look,
spin-offs.
I mean, look, Red Bull's main objective in life is to sell more fizzy drinks. And so how they do it and how they create opportunities. If you look at RB Leipzig in football, what they've done with that, which is a team that was created in 2009, whilst it's loathed in German football, it is a very successful proposition that has a very significant philosophy behind it, in the same way that RB Salzburg has as well. So I think this will be a good thing for rugby in terms of its evolution, because it's getting some investment and opportunity from a major brand whose major focus in life is to achieve outcomes for itself, but at the same time its touch on professional football has been quite unique. You've now got RB Leipzig valued at something like close to nearly €1 billion, billion euros on a franchise that started 15 years ago.
Right.
So I would be fascinated to see what they're going to do and why they've alighted upon rugby and what they think they're going to get more from rugby in terms of selling fizzy drinks, because that's what they're in business of. But I think rugby will be the beneficiaries of it.
He's an impressive guy, is Gregor Townsend. I mean, he's been in rugby all his days, and clearly he's a sought-after figure, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a slight surprise that he actually re-signed with Scotland, because there were so many stories linking him with other jobs, but he elected to stay put. I just wonder, coming back to Simon's point here about the end goal and the extra finances, I don't know if these two things are connected, but why do you need a strategy and philosophy advisor when you only have one team? Are they looking to do what they did with football, buy more than one team? or we've got a situation with R360 coming onto the board in the next 18 months or so. Are Red Bull looking at buying one of those franchises and being one of those powerhouses? That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, as I say, do you need an advisor when you only own one team otherwise?
Good point, isn't it? Their long-term strategy might become clearer.
If you want to work out what people do or going to do, look what they've done.
Yeah. Andrew, listen, thank you for that. Andrew McKenna joining us live there. Gregor Townsend joining Red Bull as a high-performance consultant and advisor on global rugby strategy. Thursday being Thursday, we'll talk boxing very shortly. Stay with us for that because a few big names on the way. Jim and Simon live on talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco, where the trade goes.
Sports update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 1 minute past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. We're building up to a nostalgic evening of football live on talkSPORT tonight.
It is something different, something unique, and the fact that it's the first one in 30 years, I guess, adds to that, and really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a cracking atmosphere.
European football returns to the City Ground as Forest host Michelin live on talkSPORT 2 later. Ange Postecoglou still looking for his first win. Elsewhere in the Europa League, Aston Villa returned to the stadium where they won the European Cup.
1982, Aston Villa won here, and last year we were playing against Bayern Munich, the team they faced it, and of course was something special, and today we can remember for our supporters.
Emery's Villa are at Feyenoord live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. Meanwhile, Russell Martin says all the criticism doesn't bother him, but kids sticking their fingers up at him does.
I've had a lot of fans come up to me in the city and around the place saying actually that to ignore it, that they feel it's gone quite some way over the normal criticism, but I've appreciated that.
Rangers go to Sturm Graz in the Europa League tonight. Michael O'Neill has recalled Josh McGuinness to the Northern Ireland squad. Daniel Ballard, Conor Hazard, Kieran Brown and Brodie Spencer are all back from injury. And Simon Jordan's sceptical England's World Cup games next summer will be moved because of the heat. He's told Jim, TV is king.
Everything from the FA Cup to Monday Night Football has been changed. And a lot of people will say that's good, and some people will say it's not.
Right.
And that means that the broadcasters are calling the shots because they're the paymasters, and they'll call the shots in this instance as well.
There's more on this story at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
4 people are injured after a car was driven into them and a man stabbed outside a synagogue in Manchester. Sir Keir Starmer's cutting his meeting with European leaders short following the attack. There's more from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
In the north and west today it's getting wetter, drier in the southeast, but turning increasingly windy everywhere with gales possible in the west. Storm Amy arrives tomorrow.
Good afternoon, everybody. 4 minutes past 12 noon. It is Jim White, it is Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. As always, we're live on your telly as well. Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch us, you can find us. And we're right here for you in the studio on the 17th floor of the News Building at London Bridge. And a lot to get through in this final hour today. Specifically in the world of boxing. Any football news that comes in, of course, we'll bring you first and fastest as well. But in the world of boxing, a lot of talk about a lot of the big names. Derek Chisora, still a big name. He's going to be in a bill in Manchester. Could be the farewell fight for Derek Chisora on December the 13th. The question is, who is he fighting? Topping the bill that night, Moses Atoma, a young man who blasts everybody out. Anyone who stands in front of him, he gets rid of them. 13 fights, 11 knockouts. The question is, who's next? He's blown away Dillian White, Matt Ballinghan, Dempsey McKean, Marius Wack. I love that name. Who's next? Who wants to be next? In a moment, we'll put that to Adam and Simon. But Moses Atoma has been speaking about this. He's over in Nigeria, where we find Spencer Oliver. And might it be David Adley? Might it be Michael Hunter? Moses, who are you fighting next?
Do you know what? It's like I woke up this morning, like, you know, on my daily routine and whatnot. And then on the way to the meeting, I opened up Instagram. I just saw so many posts of me that I turned down the fight with F.A. Jagba. And I was like, I had a meeting with Queensbury not so long ago, and they gave me 3 names, and none of them was F.A. Jagba. So I was just like, it's not really something that I'm too heavily involved in. Like, I just get the opponents. We're working on it. We got 3 names. I'm not going to disclose them just yet. And it's a choice of the 3 names, and yeah, that's probably as much influence that I have on the guys I fight that I got to this date. Like, I can't just call out randomly people and just expect to fight them, because I'm a 20-year-old guy. And I'm a 20-year-old guy with a lot of talent, but I haven't got a backing or following like Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, so I don't think I can pull as much strings as people think.
That was Moses Atoma speaking just yesterday. Adam Smith is alongside Simon and myself this lunchtime. I know you were with Moses at the beginning of the week. What are you hearing? Good afternoon, Adam.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good to be here. Moses and I were at an event on Monday. He was fantastic, actually. He's so down to earth. He's humble. He's relatable. I really like him. And I do believe he's quite possibly the heir apparent. Alexander Usyk obviously has all the belts and is controlling the pattern of heavyweight boxing at the moment. He's taking time off. So there's a huge amount of build-up to what's going to happen, I guess, either when he goes or when someone takes him on. And Moses is developing beautifully. He's 13-0 with 11 knockouts, and he will fight December 13th. He will headline in Manchester, as you said, on the Derek Chisora potentially last fight card. And I believe he'll be fighting either David Adelaide or maybe more likely Michael Hunter. He's a bit irritated, Moses, that people have said he's turned down fights and things. And look, he would fight anybody. He's a fighter. He'd fight Usyk tomorrow. He's obviously got a great team around him who are guiding him beautifully, the likes of Francis Warren and his family. And obviously Frank as the promoter to get the matchmaking right. And what he needs, I believe, is rounds. And I think Ben Davison thinks that as well, his elite trainer. He needs rounds. He's knocking everybody out. And I think somebody like a Filip Hrgovic or an Andy Ruiz or a Jarrell Miller or any of those would have been good, but money talks. And I believe Michael Hunter might be the perfect person. He's never been stopped. He's had that one defeat to Usyk a long, long time ago. He's beaten Martin Bakole. He's been a little inactive, but he sort of fits the bill. American fighter, former world title challenger. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, Adam made a good point there, Simon. We want to see what is in the Moses Atoma tank. I mean, the last four, White, Balogun, McKean and White, none of them went past the second round.
No, because they weren't able to. And Dillian White that went into the ring with Moses Atoma was not the Dillian White that went into the ring with Tyson Fury a few years ago. And anyone who thinks that he was is not. It's wrong. Now, what this kid can do is he can hit, and what we're asking is, when he gets it put on him, can he deal with that? I suspect the answer is probably yes, but until that answer is provided to the question, then people are going to constantly question Moses Atoma. I mean, whoever he goes in against is in for a difficult night. I mean, the discussions were David Adelaide, the discussions were Hunter. The thought behind it for Francis and certainly for Ben Davison will be, can we get some more rounds? Can we get some more rounds? If they can't keep on getting rounds because they keep on knocking people out, eventually they're going to find an opponent that is going to give them a bit more of a handful than perhaps they want. But I think Moses Atoma is the answer to the question of who's going to be the next heavyweight champion of the world in the longer term. I think it's, unless we've got something really wrong, I think he is the heir apparent.
He certainly looks like it. His IQ is fantastic. He's got the speed of a middleweight, the power of a heavyweight, his movement, his dedication. But the most important thing for me is the other fighters talking about him. He's been in camp with Fury. He's been in camp with the likes of Joe Joyce when he was a kid, Lawrence Okoli, AJ. He knows them all, and they all speak so highly of him. That's all I want to know. Usyk, he wants to fight Usyk next. I don't think he should, but I do say, and I spoke to him on Monday night about this, and he wants to do this. He wants to spend time in Alexander's training camp because those headquarters are like something I've never seen before in all my time in boxing. The way that Alexander trains is unique, and I think Moses, as a southpaw and as a young heavyweight coming through, would learn so much by going alongside him. So for me, go alongside him, get some education. Don't fight him yet.
What do you think of that?
I don't see Alexander Usyk fighting Moses Atoma. I think it's a zero-sum game for Alexander. What does he get from it? I mean, ultimately, if you put Moses, it's not going to happen. So, if Adam's viewpoint is probably the right one, which is get him into an environment where he can experience some of the expertise without necessarily being in a competitive fight.
Yeah,
Alexander Usyk. Yeah. I don't think Atoma would be ready for it at this stage.
And on that night, Adam, December the 13th, Derek Chisora.
Yes,
our
old friend.
Is it the final farewell? It seemingly is. Who's it going to be with? Who's it going to be against? Are we talking Daniel Dubois?
Look, the fight that I wanted to see him in with was the trilogy with Dillian White, but of course Dillian took the Atoma fight. We all know what happened, so that's a difficult one for the moment. It's got to be maybe a Daniel Dubois, maybe a Jarrell Miller, or maybe a Dillian White off the back of a win. I don't want to see him in too more of a competitive fight than that, if that makes sense.
What do you think? I mean, he's determined to go out in a high.
Well, he won't go out if he wins. I don't think if Derek Chisora wins, this idea that Derek Chisora will pack in is for the birds.
Really?
If he were to fight Daniel Dubois, which I think is a very good fight for both of them for different reasons. One is because it'll get Derek a significant purse, and if he were to win it, it would open up a whole different dimension for him. And the other one for Daniel Dubois is he's a handful. Derek Chisora, whatever stage of his career, no one really bests Derek in terms of puts him on his back very, 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 very frequently. Does that happen to him? And I think it would be a good indication of where someone like Daniel Dubois was mentally. If he were to
will Daniel be ready by December 13th? I'm not sure.
What, because of the injury?
Well, I mean, the talk is early New Year. Maybe he'll be back. AJ's talking about that as well. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a fantastic fight if that happens, but it's quick. We're at the beginning of October. There's not a lot of time to make that.
I was going to say that, Adam. Time's getting on.
Jarrell Miller for me is a cracking fight because the build-up will just be
insane.
Yeah. Let's reward a drugs cheat.
Well, there is that, isn't there? I mean, that comes into play as well, Adam. He's not the most popular fighter.
No, of course not. He's not. He's not. But he's charismatic and he's licensed to fight.
Banned.
Well, how many fighters could you say that about, though, Simon?
That's not the point. How many fighters? Ones get caught and they get caught again. I mean, it's preposterous. A sport that puts itself in a way of such jeopardy and asks itself so little questions about safety allows someone that's been banned and sanctioned for drugs cheating to be
time in a game
brought back in again. Can't be right.
There's so many heavyweights that could take that place. I mean, Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz from America, Jared Anderson. There's loads that could fight Chisora still. So I agree with Simon. If he wins, I can't see him hanging the gloves up just yet. I think he loves it too much. And he keeps talking about fighting for a world title again. I mean, all those years ago with Vitaly Klitschko, it seems just... I would have loved to have seen him go out against Dillian White at the O2 in a thunderous trilogy fight. I thought that was the right one, but it's not going to happen. It's in Manchester, so we wait and see.
And Adam, on that topic, which heavyweight will come to the fore for a world title in 2026? Of a clutch of them, Wardley, Parker or Atoma, which of those three offer the best chance potentially to topple Usyk?
I think Moses Atama will be world heavyweight champion by 2027 definitively. 2026 is interesting. So Alexander Usyk takes a break. I'd like to see Joseph Parker get the chance. However, he's got to get past Fabio Wardley. He should get past Wardley, but Wardley has, as we know, the right hand that can end anything at any time. And he's unbeaten, so he's not got that pressure on his shoulders, Fabio. He goes in as a very live underdog. But if Joseph can, as I think he should be able to under Andy Lee and the form he's in, deal with Fabio Wardley on the 25th of October, he should get the next opportunity, definitively.
And what happens for Wardley if he finds a way of getting over Parker?
Then he should get a chance.
Yeah.
He should be the one. If he beats Joseph Parker, he should get a chance at Usyk. Why not?
Wow. At the moment, those are the questions to which we have no answers, unfortunately. Who does Derek Chisora fight on December the 13th? We still don't know, nor do we know Moses Atoma. When we know, you'll know, that's for sure. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco where the trade goes. and it's the voice of boxing, Adam Smith, and we are live on talkSPORT this Thursday lunchtime. A lot to get through, and Adam is just a boy to do that with us. 2 years this month from the first Riyadh boxing season event. What was that event? I'll tell you. It was Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, and that was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. After some of the friction that was brought about by the very presence of the Saudis at the beginning 2 years ago, have the Saudis very much now become entrenched, even accepted in the world of boxing? Interestingly, former fighter Anthony Crolla was in conversation with our own Adam Catterall about that, and he tells us where he thinks the sport has gone in the past 2 years.
If you have the lads around, a few beers, bit of food, you're seeing 5 brilliant fights coming from Saudi. But what you're also seeing there are 5 headliners, which could potentially be 5 big UK shows.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
For me, British boxing is in a major crisis. It's in a major crisis. The small hall show, it's been absolutely murdered because of that. And not just that, the amount of UK shows we're seeing, they've been cut in half. It's probably less.
I like Anthony, and when he speaks, I listen. But Adam, I noticed you say you were listening to it. You were shaking your head. I mean, are small hall shows really in decline, as he suggests?
I like Anthony, and I always listen to him. What a fantastic fighter and a great guy. I see what he means. I think they're difficult. The small hall show circuit, it's hard. However, there's still plenty of great fight nights around the British shores. We had a terrific one in Sheffield on Saturday night with GBM, topped by Sean McComb in a good little fight. Also, Tycee Gallagher fought. It is the lifeblood of the country, right? The small hall shows. There was a couple, I think, down at York Hall when we were up in Sheffield. So they are still happening. And at DAZN,
responsibility at DAZN, I'll shake to make the small hall shows work.
Jim, DAZN, week in, week out, we've got good shows up and down the country. Are there enough? Maybe not. But what Turki Al-Sheikh has done, certainly on the global circuit, and what's happened to boxing has been enormous. The best are fighting the best. You just look at what he's done over many, many events now in the last 2 years, and we've seen some terrific fights. As Anthony said, maybe there would have been some of them headliners in Britain, but they are happening. And before, without Eddie and Frank working together, etc., they weren't. So it's a massive benefit. And boxing's opened up. The casual audience, Netflix, Zuffer Boxing, all of these things have opened up in our sport.
Yeah.
That's got to be a good thing. And I'm telling you, there are so many good prospects up and down the country. The TMA Aitons, the Leo Atangs, the Talib Evans. We're in a good spot. Yes, some of the small halls might be struggling, but we're in a good spot. And at GBM, we're enjoying it.
We'll get to Zuffer Boxing in a second. Simon, do you think the small hall shows have been hit hard by the arrival
Well, I
of
think
the
there's
Saudis?
a cause and effects in everything. I think there's an opportunity to be in there. I mean, it's undoubted. If you look at the currency of boxing and where it is now, with the top end being raised massively by the investment put in by the Saudis, it creates an opportunity. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean that the small hall shows have got it easy, but it means that the currency of boxing is providing a climate where there is an opportunity. You may have to work a little harder. You may have to work the asset a little bit more, more succinctly than you've done previously.
Yeah.
But I think that most people, if they were doing a weights and measures on what they think boxing has benefited from over the last 24 months, if you polled people, they would turn around and say that their investment in boxing, their understanding of it, their awareness of it, and the scale of it has gone up tenfold since the Saudi investment.
You know, and you've had things to say, as everybody has, about the arrival of the Saudis, Simon. Do you fully accept them now as part of the scene and a big influential part of the scene?
I never didn't. What I didn't like was the idea that they were beyond any criticism or any observation, because everyone has observation except apparently they didn't like it, and if it was unfair, that was fair. And I didn't like the idea of British promoters being prepared to sell everything besides their own backsides at an event that was in a Wembley stadium in front of English fans with English fighters. I didn't see the necessity for an anthem from an overseas promoter. So that was it. That was the end of the controversy. Beyond that, I think Turki Al-Sheikh has done. I think he's been a revelation for boxing. I think he's livened them up. You know, when we hear, with due respect to Frank and Eddie, about what they do and don't think. They couldn't make a fight for 15 years. Shame on them. Shame on them. Well, it took someone else to do it.
It's been quite a 24 months, hasn't it, with the arrival of the Saudis? The question being, what is the next turn of the wheel? Apparently, Zuffa Boxing, Adam mentioned it a second ago. What is that? It's a new promotional company formed by TKO and Sella, and that's Dana White and Turki Al Sheikh. It'll have its own belts. It won't recognise other sanctioning bodies. It will only recognise Ring Magazine rankings. 12 cards planned throughout 2026. Dana White's been speaking more about that.
My big focus is on building a fan base that completely trusts a brand like the UFC. Like when you stay home on a Saturday night, you know what you're going to get. If you buy tickets and come to the UFC live, you know you're going to get a great experience live or on TV, or if you go to a bar. And that's what I want to bring back to boxing. So many times, me, you, the people watching this right now, you've stayed home on a Saturday night, you're excited for this fight, and then you turn the TV off at the end of the night, and you're like, they got me again. That was terrible. The number one thing that is the most important to me is starting to regain the trust of the boxing fans.
There's a lot of sense in that, Adam, is there not?
Look, he's a very intelligent man, and he's done a brilliant job with the UFC, Dana White, and I'm very excited to see what he does in 2026. Obviously, the whole idea of all under one umbrella and everybody learning the stories and all fighting is great. But we are in the Wild West of boxing, and Turki Al Sheikh, as Simon has said, it's a revelation what he's done. He's made the big fights, and now we're actually getting them, on other shows, Ring Magazine shows, and that's making sure as well on British soil that Frank and Eddie and Ben are putting on good events now. So I think everybody's benefiting from it. So if this is another edition where they're going to have their own belts and they're not going to recognise the world titles. Look, some fighters tell me they want to win the WBC, the WBA, the IBF. There are more opportunities there. There's more chance of them becoming a world champion one day. And they want to do what Lennox Lewis did and the greats of the past. They want to live up to that. There's something about that history. But also, cue Eddie Hearn. Bring on the fight. I mean, we're going to love it, aren't we?
Well, there's method to it, though, Simon. Is there not? Streamline it all.
Well, it's interesting to see how they're going to do it, because ultimately, one of the big things they're doing is challenging the Muhammad Ali Act to be able to change the direction of travel in the way that fighters are paid and the obligations under that, which I would imagine is to their benefit. And the UFC model has been challenged. It's wonderful what Dana says, but they've been taken to court now for the last 10 years and are now paying out hundreds of millions in compensation to fighters, to UFC fighters, for the distribution of monies. The landscape is different. I understand why he's trying to do it. I think they're another innovation. They're another string to a bow. And the more people that are doing this, I think the more boxing benefits as a result of it. So let it play out. Whether Eddie Hearn is a rival to them or whether Eddie Hearn becomes something that does something in of its own right, they're a major promoter of their own right. They're not going to be worried about what Dana's doing.
Well, Turki Al Sheikh's had the Midas touch so far, Adam. Is this another demonstration of that?
Let's see. He's been brilliant so far. Let's see what happens. Dana's a brilliant promoter, and you can hear from him how much we want to tune in, but we're already Saturday night. Tune in. It's going to be a great night in Scotland. Week after, we're in Sheffield with Dave Allen. You know, time and time again, we're getting. It's Boazzi and Parker, Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker. The next 4 or 5 fight nights here in Britain. The show in Riyadh on November 22nd is unbelievably stacked. So we're getting big events now. What we weren't getting maybe a few years back when Frank and Eddie weren't working together, and Ben Shalom's got shows on BBC. The more the merrier for boxing. This is great. It's another chapter, another twist. We had Al Heyman come in a while ago and all of that. Let's see what happens with this.
Interesting to see. You say the Midas touch. What he's had is the checkbook. The only reason that these fights have been made is because there's been no commercial principles behind them. The commercial principles have been seeding the idea that people talk about Saudi now through the prism of boxing and sport, and it's worked. But they are beginning to pull their horns in. They're beginning to readdress the balance. You're not seeing the same purses being paid.
You say a checkbook, but he has chosen boxing as a fan, and that's fantastic for us.
Absolutely. But you know the reason why? Because they couldn't do it in golf because the structure was too rigid, and they couldn't do it in football.
Yep.
So the easier one to do and create massive influence through was boxing. And they've been able to turn themselves from also-rans into the boxing mecca. They are now the go-to place for boxing. They own boxing.
And
now.
fans
more than
are
a
seeing
checkbook.
the best fights, and fighters are getting paid, and that is key.
Yeah, fighters getting paid, and it's been more than a checkbook. I mean, he's knocked heads together and said,
Yes,
"This is
he
how we're
has.
going to do it
With the checkbook.
With the checkbook."
But he's done
With
the
different
impossible.
formats.
Frank Warren I worked with for 15 years. Eddie Hearn for 10.
With the checkbook.
With the checkbook, with a smaller checkbook, and with a bigger checkbook, they come in, they're hugging on stage.
Okay, stand by for Zuffa Boxing. It's 12:30.
Have you ever seen an unhappier man of the match? Erling Haaland scored twice, but says Man City need more energy and weren't good enough in the 2-2 draw at Monaco. Pep Guardiola's fuming as well after Eric Dyer's 90th minute penalty.
Are you able to give us your opinion on?
No.
It looked like the whole bench were exceptionally angry about it.
Nothing to say to the Spanish referees.
Nico Gonzalez did get the ball first, but also connected with Eric Dyer's head as he tried to clear a cross. A much happier night in North London, but Mikel Arteta's had to defend Victor Gyökeres missing more chances.
I think overall his performance was exceptional. Again, his work rate was really good, and yeah, we want him to be scoring goals, but if he doesn't do that, at least to do everything else that he's doing for the team, because he's helping the team a lot.
Martin Odegaard looked back to his best in Arsenal's 2-0 win over Olympiacos. Meanwhile, Eddie Howe says Newcastle have been waiting for a performance like that. He hopes their 4-0 dismantling of Union Saint-Gilloise helps his team kick on in the Premier League. Elsewhere, on loan, Man United striker Rasmus Højlund scored twice for Napoli in their 2-1 win over Sporting. And in the Championship, Coventry are up to second after their 4-0 thrashing of Millwall at the Den. Oxford United's goalless draw at QPR was enough to move them out the bottom three, and promotion-chasing West Brom won at Norwich. Tonight on talkSPORT, we've got commentary of Villa's Europa League trip to Feyenoord. Forest versus Midtjylland is on talkSPORT too.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just gone 12:30 this Thursday lunchtime. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Adam Smith, the voice of boxing, of course. These days, talkSPORT, DAZN, Adam Smith, and Adam is with us live all the way through until 1 o'clock. And what do the three of us have in common? We're all going to Scotland.
We are going to Scotland.
You and I are going up. Mr. Jordan and I are going up today, Adam, and you're heading up there this weekend.
I'm heading up tomorrow. Nathaniel Collins returns. I really like him. Unbeaten southpaw, fighting for the European featherweight title, closing in on world honours. Love to see him against Nick Ball. That's a fight for 2026. But look out for him. And he's come back from a critical injury, and he had horrendous surgery on a twisted bowel. Nathaniel Collins. I thought he'd never survive that. He got through that. He's done ultra marathons. And now he's back in the ring. He looked terrific last time out against Lee McGregor. Can't wait for Saturday.
I can't wait for tomorrow lunchtime. Simon and I are at Chris Boyd's charity lunch. And of course, the man to my left will be speaking at it with me. Are you somewhat trepidatious about going up there in view of what you've said in the past about Scotland, Scottish football? How after we got a 0-0 draw at Wembley, we celebrated like we had a national holiday to celebrate that.
You're a canker on the side of the British Isles.
Yes.
You've got a national debt. How I'd cast you off quite happily.
Yeah.
No, I'm quite happy with all those things.
I eagerly wait to see the reception he gets. It'll be sensational. I'll be right beside you.
Can I come in, just watch from the back?
You can come in, Adam. I'll give you the address. I'll be right beside you, Simon. From distance, but I'll be right beside you. 50 years on from this. From what? Thriller in Manila. Do you remember that? Yesterday marked the 50th anniversary. Muhammad Ali stopped Joe Frazier in their Thriller in Manila, of course, in the Philippines, a trilogy in the Philippines. And the late Colin Hart, one of the all-time great boxing writers, spoke back in 2020 to talkSPORT about the said Thriller in Manila.
Ladies and gentlemen, the government and people of the Republic of the Philippines, in cooperation with Don King Productions Incorporated, proudly present the Thriller in Manila.
Of all the World Heavyweight Championships I've been fortunate to be at, there's no doubt in my mind that the most brutal, and maybe the most brutal heavyweight championship of all time, was the second World Championship fight between Muhammad Ali and Smoking Joe Frazier in the Thriller in Manila. They were both past their best, and they were so shot they couldn't get out the way of each other's punches. So for 14 rounds non-stop in intense heat, at breakfast time, believe it or not, they battered away at each other, and It she makes me shudder even today to think back on that fight. At the end of the 14th round, Frazier couldn't see out of his left eye, and his great trainer, Eddie Futch, pulled him out of that fight at the end of the 14th round.
The doctor comes up and looks at Frazier. I think it's going to be over. It's all over.
Joe stood up in the corner ready to go on, and Eddie said, "Sit down, son, it's over. But nobody will ever forget what you did here today." I'll tell you how brutal it was. Don't take my word for it. Muhammad Ali said afterwards that's the nearest to death he'd ever been. At the press conference, Ali walked into the room and Marvis Frazier, Frazier's son, who was about 14, was sobbing in the corner, having seen his father take such a horrible beating. And Ali walked over to him, put his big arm round his shoulder and said, "Stop crying, Marvis. Your dad's a great fighter." These things stick in the memory, believe me.
I'm so tired, I don't want to do nothing. I want to rest for 1 week. My hips are sore, my arms are sore, my sides are sore. I'm going to take a rest now. That's my 4th fight in 1 year. But there's a great possibility, fellas, this might be my last fight tonight. A great possibility. You probably saw the last of Ali.
And of course, it wasn't his last fight, was it? Adam Smith alongside Simon this lunchtime. Adam, does it remain boxing's most iconic fight?
It's got to be one of 2 or 3. The Rumble in the Jungle, of course, when Ali's rope-a-dope outdid George Foreman. There are a few others. Hagler Hearns for me. That was the one that got me when I was a kid. But I think, yeah, Ali Frazier 3, the trilogy in Manila with everything. 1-1. As Colin said, dear friend of mine, Colin was wonderful writer and was there and said it was a breakfast time in searing heat and they did. It was probably the most brutal heavyweight fight of all time. We've had AJ Klitschko and other great heavyweight fights in modern times, obviously the Fury Wilder trilogy too, but I think in terms of where it was in the mid-70s and that golden era of heavyweight boxing, I think Ali Frazier 3 has got to be there. And the fact that Eddie Futch pulled him out and the other corner, Angelo Dundee and Ali, were ready to quit too at the end of the 14th round. Yeah, extraordinary. And those sort of words afterwards and the memories will live on forever.
50 years ago. Incredible, son. I think I was 18. I mean, those were the times you got out of bed in the early hours of the morning.
I mean, the far-reaching consequences of those fights, because Ali going into that fight, he played the Uncle Tom card repeatedly with Joe Frazier. In this one, he went even beyond it, and he started calling him a gorilla, and talked about a gorilla in Manila. And I think it damaged their relationship beyond repair. Even though you saw them in later times in life, there was always this searing resentment from Joe Frazier towards Muhammad Ali because of the chances he'd given him, the help they'd given him up, and the way that Ali had played that particular card. And of course, the flip side of it was that Joe Frazier loses this fight, fights twice again, never wins again, whereas Ali goes on to win 6 more times, culminating in the loss against Leon Spinks, winning back the world title to be the 3rd-time heavyweight champion of the world, but probably ceding all of the damage that we saw in him physically during that period, culminating in the outcome that we saw in the latter parts of Ali's life, which was the health challenges that he had. But what you had were 2 unbelievable heavyweights. Joe Frazier, to some extent, was kryptonite to Muhammad Ali. Whether it was because Ali had 3 years out of the ring and ultimately came back a different fighter, but Joe Frazier, when he first fought him in 1971,
71.
In Madison Square Garden, was not expected to be beating Muhammad Ali.
The fight of the century, that. Frank Sinatra taking
and the money they got paid for it. Absolutely.
Time magazine. And and I think you also, with trilogies, you bare souls, don't you? The Morales Barrera trilogies, the Gatti Wards, the Holyfield and Bowes, and recently Wilder and Fury, of course. It's something about fighting each other on 3 occasions when it's 1 apiece or unbelievable.
Different level, isn't it? 50 years on from Thriller in Manila. When we come back, final part of the show today, we'll ask this question: is everybody too quick to try and retire Anthony Joshua? We'll look at that in a second.
boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Now, this Saturday sees a pivotal moment for Scottish boxing as Collins takes on Laurenti for the EBU European Featherweight title. Adam Smith here in studio is going up to it. Later that night, two of the most dangerous men in combat sports, Mike Perry and Jeremy Stevens. In bare knuckle boxing, watch this Saturday on DAZN. It's going to be a good one, Adam, I think. It's going to be a good one. Let me ask this question this lunchtime. Is it my imagination or a few people out there pretty quick to see if it's time up for Anthony Joshua? Maybe too quick to try and retire Anthony Joshua. Johnny Nelson was one of the guests on Simon's Top Boxing Show this week, and this is what Johnny said.
I think, first of all, I don't think Jake Paul was ever going to happen.
I hope it doesn't.
I don't think it was ever going to happen. Even when Jake Paul was shouting out and Eddie kind of like propped it up.
It shouldn't,
like,
by the way.
It was never ever going to happen, number one. Number two, I think for Anthony Joshua, coming from a place of love, I think Anthony Joshua's got nothing else to prove in this game, and he should rather walk away than hang about and wait for someone to turn him over. It's either him and Tyson Fury, which we're all sick of. Is it happening or isn't happening? Or just walk out of it. He's a very comfortable, wealthy man.
Full episode is on the Top Boxing YouTube channel right now. What did you make, Adam, of what Johnny was saying?
Well, he's my best mate in boxing, so I can't go against him. Johnny is coming from a place of love, of course. He's a former fighter who just wants the best for Anthony Joshua. I don't think AJ's finished. I think he wants to carry on. I think he wants to fight on, and that's his decision. He's not old. He's obviously had that defeat to Daniel Dubois, but I do want the Tyson Fury fight to happen. I don't think necessarily we're all sick of it. I think if it was made, or two of them were made for 2026, we'd all get behind it and we'd get on with it, and it would be great for the nation and for boxing. So yeah, I'd like to see AJ come back. I know he wants to, but I guess Johnny's coming from a fighter's point of view who had a long career, and he's coming from love. But no, I don't agree with him on this point.
You don't want to see him fight Jake Paul, Simon, do you?
No, not at all. In one respect, I do, because I'd like to see him knock Jake Paul into the next round. But in the reality of what I think it's worth, no. I mean, I am moderately interested in seeing him fight Tyson Fury, because I think it's the only box that's left unticked. Do I think he wins a world title again? No. Am I surprised he got knocked out by Daniel Dubois? No. Did I say that during the course of his rehabilitation with Jermaine Franklin, Robert Helenius, Otto Wallin and Francis Ngannou, that if someone live one came up to him, I think he'd have problems? He did. So I think his best days are way, way behind him.
Yeah.
But he's still bankable box office and still probably the biggest name in boxing when he turns up.
Or as we saw this week in Nigeria, in Africa, there's calls for AJ to fight over there, and him against Martin Bakoli is massive for 2026. So I think there are huge options, and Eddie, as he says, AJ is side A and he's still big box office. So it's up to Anthony whether he wants to fight on.
What we do know, Adam, is that October the 25th is a massive night for boxing. But a bit of a clash going on here. Queensberry has Wardley against Parker. Boxer hosts Clark against Jamie TKV on free-to-air. So what's going on here? Promoters going head-to-head in the same night. Is the competition good for the sport, or is it damaging for the sport? Here is one Frank Warren.
Got to be honest, I'm a bit disappointed that, I think they've done a 4-fight deal with BBC, and the first show that the BBC date give them is to clash with another show. It's madness. I don't understand it. But look, it is what it is. It's up against our show. I mean, the two guys are fighting on our main event. Fabio Wardley is in a real tough fight against Joe Parker. I mean, these are different levels, by the way. And, Fabio's beaten obviously Frazier in big style, certainly in the last fight. And I really do like Frazier, but he absolutely poleaxed him in his last fight, or the fight he had with him. And then you look at Joe Parker, who's on a roll and is an interim champion. So it's a big fight. It's a great fight card, and it is what it is. We'll get on with it and do what we got to do. But levels, these are different levels we're talking about. Seriously different levels.
Yeah. Are they seriously different levels, Adam?
He's a great promoter, isn't he? Yeah, they are different levels, of course. Fabio Wardley beat, as Frank said, he beat Fraser Clark in a round in their rematch. He goes in with Joseph Parker, who should have had by now another world title opportunity. And TKV, we know at the moment they're domestic level. However, the BBC is a big deal. I like the fact that we've got national television back with boxing. I think that's great for Ben Shalom. It's disappointing it's on the same night. Of course it is. I don't think any clash is great. I've heard the timings of the main event are different, so I guess you can get both in. But yeah, I know where my attention will be. It will be on the O2. Big week for DAZN. Huge fight with Wardley and Parker, and it's the bigger fight. But obviously, the deal with BBC is great for boxing.
I mean, Simon, competition in all walks of life surely is good. It's healthy.
It happens all the time. I remember going down to the Vitality to watch Chris Billam-Smith fight Lawrence Okoli for the cruiserweight title, and there was another major event which Eddie Holm was complaining about was being that this fight was put on the same evening. It happens. Maybe I don't think Ben Shalom would have engineered it that way. It may just be that's the slot that the BBC allocated, and it gets on with it. It'll be interesting to see what the viewing figures are, because that will be a determiner. I mean, ultimately, it's on BBC Two. It's a new place for it, so we'll see. I mean, Wardley. I know where my attention will be. My attention will be on
Wardley Parker.
Absolutely, because it's the better fight. But there's still, I mean, Fraser Clark fighting Jamie TKV has the potential of being a stinker. It also has the potential of being a decent fight. Depends how it goes and what Fraser does in that fight more than what Jamie does, in my view.
Yeah, but crucially, it's free to air. So as Simon says, Adam, it would be interesting to see what audience it gets.
It should get a big audience, and we hope it gets a big audience, but at the same time, the better fight and the bigger night is at the O2.
Yeah.
No question about that, but we're boxing fans, and obviously, as we've said about Zuffa Boxing, we've said about Netflix and all the things that Turki Al-Sheikh has done over the last couple of years, boxing is being talked about, and that's what we want.
Dalton Smith is being talked about, is he not?
Really like him.
So he heads to New York, January the 10th, and he gets his shot, a WBC World Super Lightweight clash. This is a big moment for him. What chance do you give him, Adam?
Great fighter, great guy, Dalton Smith, and he's done everything the right way. He's established himself, he's gone through the levels, domestic to European, he's made himself mandatory challenger, and he's even going out stateside to try and win this belt, the WBC title. I think it's fantastic. It's on January the 10th, and he said he's going to take out an army of fans with him. He's one of the good guys in boxing, Dalton Smith, and he'll have a lot of support behind him.
Excellent. 18-0 at the moment. He's in a great position, isn't he?
Yeah, and I'm very pleased to see that there's a bit of distance between the conversation about him fighting Adam Azim, because I'd like them to develop in their own vacuums. I'd like Adam Azim to be fighting Dalton Smith for a world title rather than being pushed into a situation, too early for Adam. But Dalton Smith is a top-class operator, and he is at the level now where I think he can win a world title.
And he'll take a bunch of fans with him, and it makes me think the very thing that Ricky Hatton used to do, Adam, to a huge extent, a massive extent, because of the following that Ricky had. And I know you were hit very, very hard by the news regarding Ricky. You were very close to him.
Yep.
And the funeral is next week, as I understand it.
Yeah, it's on the 10th in Manchester. Huge procession from Hyde, and the ceremony will be in Manchester Cathedral, and then the procession goes to the Etihad. So it's all over Manchester, which was, of course, Ricky's hotbed. But yeah, very, very hard I've taken this, and my family. We were really close to Ricky. We basically grew up in boxing with Ricky Hatton, everyone at Sky Sports. You know, you'll remember, Jim, he was an incredible athlete, a fantastic fighter, a wonderful human being, and just so much fun to be around. And you mentioned Dalton Smith taking out a load of fans. You know, Dalton and I were talking about Ricky the other day, and he said he was at I think it was the Etihad, or maybe it was the Manchester Arena, one of Ricky's fights when he was about 9 or 10, and Ricky inspired him. And Anthony Crolla, who we had on earlier, he was in the Manchester Arena when he was 13, 14, looking down and watching the Hitman and those amazing nights. So he leaves a huge legacy. It's heartbreaking. I'm finding it really difficult, and my heart goes out to his whole family and everything that lies ahead in this next week. The boxing world is with them, and we all mourn together.
Adam, thanks for being with us today. We wish you well next week.
Thank you.
As for Mr. Jordan and I, you and I are heading to the airport, and we're heading to Glasgow, as is Adam Smith later on tomorrow. That's it. We're coming up to 1 o'clock this Thursday lunchtime.